Texas's casino and business closures in mid-March. Wynn Resorts will temporarily furlough employees who work in outlets not yet allowed to reopen. They include Le Rev, the Poker Room, and their nightclubs. Wynn began reopening some of its offerings on May 18th, beginning with the golf course. The company announced the reopening of its hotel towers, casino, and all restaurants on June 4th. Calls for an end to the violent protests and promises of intense investigations into the death of George Floyd, a black man who was in the custody of 4 white Minneapolis police officers.
The top county and federal prosecutors in Minneapolis say they are determined to find justice for George Floyd, a black man who died while in the custody of 4 Minneapolis police officers. The U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Erica McDonald, says, however, the violence has to end.
The obstruction and the destruction of property and harm to individuals has got to stop.
Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman says he is determined to prevent the same outcome as the Freddie Gray case in Baltimore.
It was a rush for justice, and all of those people were found not guilty. I will not rush to justice. I'm going to do this right.
A half dozen police officers were charged in Gray's death. There were no convictions. I'm Tim McGuire.
Dozens of Las Vegans joined protesters around the country last night to protest the death of George Floyd, the man who was killed in Minneapolis police custody after an officer kneeled on his neck until he became unresponsive. Protesters gathered at MGM Grand a little after 8 p.m. and began marching to the Las Vegas Metro Police Department substation just south of Mandalay Bay. And the name is the Henderson Silver Knights. Golden Knights owner Bill Foley announced the name and unveiled the logo for the AHL team that will be based in Henderson.
The golden eyes, indicating that the knight on that war horse, it aspires to be a golden knight. The H is part of the armored look of the horse, indicating Henderson. 20 pieces of chainmail and 21 rivets, indicating we're starting the 2021 season.
The Silver Knights, the farm team for the Vegas Golden Knights, they will play their home games in an as-yet-to-be-built arena in Henderson. With a check on our weather, here's News 3's Kelly Curran.
We're looking at sunny skies and more hot temperatures on this Friday. It's going to get pretty breezy in the afternoon as well. The high today, 106 degrees, winds out of the south-southeast at 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting up to 40. Keep listening for more updates throughout the day from News 3, your weather authority.
Sunny, breezy, 91 in Las Vegas. John Schaefer on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, Las Vegas' only FM news talk station. Here's John Michaels with the latest on the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. The accident on the 95 northbound, just north of Eastern Avenue, still blocking the left lane. Traffic heavy from Charleston Boulevard. Merged to the right to get around. And also an accident on the surface streets on Cheyenne Avenue east of Civic Center Drive. Use an alternate to skirt the slowing. You could use Cary or Craig instead. And road work continues on Maryland Parkway north and south between Russell Road and Las Vegas Boulevard. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. They help millions of people like you take control of their personal information online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views Alto offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Now, the day's biggest news story.
Today's Friday, right? It's not Friday, right?
This is the latest take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, good morning, Las Vegas. It is Sharp and Shapiro, the Vegas Take. Glad you could join us. Hope you all are having a good morning. And I got to tell you, folks, broadcasting live on YouTube, the Vegas Take page, from my kitchen table. Hopefully that'll change soon as we're getting into phase 2 today, actually. But I got to tell you, waking up this morning, a lot of emotions. I'm angry. I'm very angry this morning. I'm angry that the relations between law enforcement and minorities in the last decade, at least, doesn't seem like they've changed much. I'm angry that 4 officers decided to murder an innocent African-American man in broad daylight. I'm angry that our politicians have failed us, from the mayor of Minneapolis to the president of the United States. I'll get to that. I'm angered by that. And I'm also angry that the citizens of this country think that they can take the matters into their own hands and burn down a city. I'm angry. And we're going to tackle all those issues today. And we have a lot of people that we're going to be talking to get to, including a local business owner right there in the thick of things in Minneapolis. Her name is Kim Erickson. She owns a florist. She has had to guard her store for days now. So we will talk to her in hour number 2. Also, Amber Athey with The Spectator has been covering this from a political perspective, and we will get to that. So many things to get to, so many things to talk about. And then at the bottom of the hour, in about 25 minutes, we're going to be speaking to Jordan Foy. He's with KARE 11. He's been covering this story for his station. Right there in the thick of things, he has been on the ground. He's seen it firsthand of what took place last night. I want to start. I told you that our politicians have failed us. From the mayor, who I think is a complete buffoon, and I'll explain why, all the way up to the President of the United States. And I want to start with that and move on down. Let's start with the President. Now, our producer, Jason Stein, is going to explain to us what the President tweeted, since been taken down from Twitter. This happened at around midnight last night. Jason, what can you tell us? What did the President say in a tweet that has since been taken down?
Well, overnight, as the images were put on across TV screens, CNN, Fox News, apparently Trump is sitting in the White House watching this at 12:53 a.m. Eastern Time. He writes, quote, on Twitter, "These thugs," capital letters, "are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. I won't let that happen. I just spoke to the Minnesota governor and told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, and we will assume control. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you." And by the way, that when the looting starts, shooting starts, that was quoting a Miami police chief
I'll talk about that.
in the 1960s during riots there.
I'll get to that.
So what Twitter basically did was they flagged it as a violation of their rules, which promotes the glorification of violence based on historical context. So I guess it's hidden right now. If you go, like you said, if you go on Twitter, on Trump's Twitter page right now, you won't be able to see it. So it has been flagged, which doesn't mean necessarily removed. It just means hidden.
I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or a Trump hater. Okay, it's not going to do any good to be calling the rioters thugs, but that's not really my biggest issue with this tweet. And by the way, the tweet before, which is still up there, he made it about the mayor, and he criticized the mayor, calling him a Democrat and making it political. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Now, is there any logical person out there that thinks if somebody goes in and steals a TV that they deserve to be shot? Is there anybody out there that thinks that if somebody goes into a store, and by the way, it's wrong and it's against the law, and I hope they're prosecuted, and I hope some of them go to jail. Let me be very clear on that. I have never defended these looters, and we will get more into that in a few minutes here. But is there anybody out there that thinks that if you loot, you deserve to be shot? That's what the President of the United States said yesterday. And as Stein alluded to, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, that was from a Miami police chief literally declaring war on black people rioting in 1967 after the police instituted an aggressive stop and frisk policy. How can anybody defend those words of the president? Now listen, this isn't somebody on social media. This isn't a member of the media. This isn't somebody on Fox News. Okay, it's not Rush Limbaugh that tweeted that out. It's the President of the United States. Let that sink in for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is against these rioters and looters more than me, and I'll talk about that. With that being said, the President of the United States tweeted out last night, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. A blatant threat. Does anybody out there think that if somebody loots and steals some items from a store, it's against the law, it's a felony, it's a crime? Does anybody think that they should be shot? This gets me so angry. The man has no leadership skills at all. He divides us more in this time of need. Can you imagine if the governor of Minnesota did that today at a press conference and said that? Republicans would have a heyday. But when the president says it, you hear from many Republicans, well, it's not the way I would do things. I would do things differently. But, you know, the man's doing a good job. That's what you hear from the cowards on the right. And I'm sick of it. You want to call me a liberal or you want to call me a Democrat, you label me whatever the hell you want, even though I'm not. I don't care. I am going to speak my mind on this show, and the president is a scumbag once again for what he tweeted last night. And nobody can defend those remarks. And I mean nobody. But I'm not just criticizing the president of the United States. No. I have criticism across the board, including those with a D next to their name. But I want to start with the Hennepin County attorney, Mike Freeman, who said that there was other evidence that did not support criminal charges with these police officers. I'm telling you right now, his comments are part of the reason why the looting got out of control last night. I want you to have a listen to this.
The decision that I made was for the safety of our officers and the safety of the public. The symbolism of a building cannot outweigh the importance of life.
This is the mayor. That was the mayor.
It's a decision that I did not take lightly.
Wrong cut.
I understand the importance of a precinct, but we are able to regroup and continue providing the same service to the 3rd precinct as a geography.
Okay, so that's Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. We'll get to that in a second. That was my fault. I went to the wrong cut first. Here's what I want to start with. We are on the subject of the President of the United States. And I told, Stein talked to us about that tweet. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. I'm not a big Don Lemon fan. I never have been, because I don't think he's a journalist. Just like I don't think Sean Hannity's. But Sean Hannity doesn't call himself a journalist, his credit. There are people on TV that are not journalists, okay? Don Lemon's biased. He's to the left. But Don Lemon made a lot of good points yesterday on his show in regards to the President of the United States. Now, if you're an African American right now, unless you're a diehard Trump supporter, is Donald Trump the person you want to hear talking about race relations in this country? I want you to have a listen to what Don Lemon said on his show yesterday. Have a listen to this.
Now, for the Attorney General, I watched. I know she has a tough job, but guess what? And as long as we're being honest with it right now, nobody wants to hear from the White House or the Attorney General right now. No one wants to hear from the man who wanted the death penalty to come back from the Central Park Five. No one wants to hear from the man who says that the former president was not born in this country. No one wants to hear from the man who says there are very fine people on both sides. Do you understand what I'm saying? No one wants to hear from the person that they perceive as contributing to this situation, situations like this in the society. Not directly, but allowing people like that to think that they can get away from this. No one wants to hear from the birther-in-chief, from the sons of bitches calling person who says that athletes who are kneeling for this very reason. No one wants to hear from that. The justice system should work for everyone.
I could not agree with Don Lemon more. I don't care. And by the way, like I said, I'm not a Don Lemon supporter. I don't really like his show. I don't think he's a great talk show host, journalist, whatever you want to call him. But he's absolutely right. The majority of minorities in this country do not want to hear Donald Trump talk about race relations. They absolutely don't. Don Lemon is 150% correct. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few African Americans out there that are diehard Trump supporters. And, maybe. It's possible.
Diamond and silk.
But Donald Trump is not the person Yeah, Diamond and Silk, exactly. Donald Trump is not the right person that should be talking about this. He's just not. So now I want to move on to the Hennepin County Attorney, Mike Freeman. It's enough about Donald Trump. He made some horrific remarks once again last night, insinuating violence, that looters should be shot. But Attorney Mike Freeman said there's other evidence that did not support criminal charges. The fact that these 4 officers have not been arrested yet is, to my knowledge, what I consider to be completely ridiculous, irresponsible, and they are part of the reason why these riots are going on right now, because these 4 officers should have been arrested by now. There's no explanation. But then we have Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman yesterday just inciting more anger in many of these people in this county. Have a listen to what he said in a press conference yesterday.
I will say this, that video is graphic and horrific and terrible, and no person should do that. But my job in the end is to prove that he violated a criminal statute. And there is other evidence that does not support a criminal charge. We need to wade through all of that evidence and to come through with a meaningful determination, and we are doing that to the best of our ability.
Okay, so it certainly sounded like he had a lot of conviction there in what he said. It certainly sounded like he meant what he said. And then 90 minutes later, his office puts out a statement saying that he misspoke. Don't you think when you're holding a press conference in what could be, besides the coronavirus, the second biggest story of the year, don't you think if you're the county attorney, you probably should get your words right? What a failure on his part. This man should be fired. He should be fired. We all saw the video. We all saw what took place with these 4 police officers. We all saw it. And now you're saying, we've seen almost every camera angle, even police camera, body camera footage. And now you're telling me, and he says in a press conference yesterday, that there was other evidence that did not support criminal charges when we saw this guy put his knee on George Floyd's neck for almost 10 minutes? And then you wonder why people are angry. I don't support the looting. I don't support any of that stuff. I think those people are buffoons. They're idiots. They're criminals. Let's call it for what it is. But if you're the attorney, the county attorney, how do you make a statement like that and then your office claims that you misspoke? It's absurd. And when I say it's a failure from the top all the way down, I'm going to keep going down, folks, and I'm going to talk about the mayor. This is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey last night, who at one point during the night allowed the criminals to burn down the precinct. And his excuse was, I don't want police officers or anybody else getting hurt. So let's just forget about law. You're telling me you couldn't have put 50 or 60 officers out there arresting people? Let's just forget about the rule of law. Let's just let people loot. Let's let people riot. Let's let people burn down buildings because, we don't want anybody else to get hurt. Let me tell you something. That's not the country that I want to live in. This isn't Iraq. If people are burning down buildings, they need to be arrested. Now, I understand.
Not just arrested.
Now, I understand that people and the guard was called in, and the president again said he was going to call in the National Guard. He's an idiot because the National Guard was already called in, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the president of the United States. Hold on. It had absolutely nothing to do with the president of the United States. The National Guard was already called in, and the president was ignorant to the facts. He had no idea. He was probably tweeting on the toilet at midnight, calling them thugs, and then saying, if you loot, we're going to shoot. Okay? That's the president, and that's why some of those tweets were taken down by Twitter. But the bottom line is the National Guard was called out. The mayor should have had the tools necessary to get out there in those crowds and to start making arrests. And is it possible that some people might have been hurt, even killed? I guess it's possible. Is it possible that some of those police officers could have been hurt? I guess that's possible. It's a very volatile and dangerous situation.
Pretty unlikely.
But with that being said, it's not unlikely. When you have thousands of protesters in a crowd that are violent, that are burning down buildings, people are going to get hurt. It's going to happen. But with that being said, what I'm trying to say is that's not an excuse for the mayor to hold a press conference and say he didn't want people to get hurt, so let's just burn down a police station. I knew that these protests would happen again last night. I knew they would happen. I said it yesterday on the show. It's going to happen again.
You did say that.
I didn't think it was going to be to the extent it was last night. Now, this is worse than Ferguson. In Ferguson, there were rioters, there were looters, but from what I can recall, they weren't burning down the entire city. Now, the governor today made some pretty good statements, and he said, no, this is going to be tolerated. We're not going to let people burn down buildings tonight. Now, I would hope that that doesn't happen. And to the looters, to those people out there that think it's okay because you're angry, it could be 500 years, the last 500 years of being oppressed. That still doesn't give you the right to break the law, to burn down buildings. It doesn't give you the right to steal, to loot, to ruin local businesses, and to burn down a precinct. And I am sick and tired of this. I am sick and tired of people making excuses for those people. I am sick of it. And we see this on both sides, right? And I'm going to use this analogy because I think it's important. When Donald Trump does something dumb or when Donald Trump says something stupid, the response I usually get from some, not all, but some Republicans is, Donald Trump just made up by himself yesterday at midnight on the crapper. Okay, this is something that was said in 1967, and I'm not done yet. You are telling me that if somebody breaks into a store or it could be stealing bubble gum, it could be stealing a TV, anything, hold on, I know you're ready to interrupt again. You're telling me it's a yes or no question. You're telling me with anybody, it could be a 15-year-old, a 25-year-old, whatever, you're okay with those people being shot.
I'm saying if I am a small business owner and someone breaks into tries to steal my things, I am totally fine with them having consequences. Yes, looters should have consequences.
I didn't say
Brian.
Consequences. You're not answering me.
That is a form of consequence, Brian.
So you're okay.
I have no problem
being shot who are looting. All people being shot.
Shot to death. Shot where they die.
When the shooting starts.
Exactly.
You're okay with that president saying that.
The shooting starts. Again, if I'm a small business owner and I cannot protect myself or my property, and I'm in the middle of a situation, I want someone to be there to protect me. Whether it's the National Guard,
should all be shot?
whether it's the military, and under those circumstances, some people may get shot. Hopefully it's not they're getting shot with bullets. But yes, I think that there should be protection in place, and I would want protection in place as a small business owner, because a lot of these small businesses, there was a bar owner, a sports bar owner, an African American sports bar owner who was actually fired. He was a member of the fire department. His entire bar was destroyed 2 nights ago during this situation. An African American sports bar owner. Bar is called Sports. This happened in Minneapolis.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Because Bing is not just affecting the Targets and the auto zones. It's affecting small businesses.
I didn't say it did. You're changing the subject.
I'm not changing the subject at all. I'm saying if I'm a small owner and I have a store and I don't have the means to protect myself and I'm being attacked by multiple looters. Maybe they're trying to steal my things. Maybe
owners were not being attacked.
Not me personally, but my store.
I get your point.
But if I got in the way of them, I would be attacked.
All right, so we got.
If I tried to stop them,
we got to take a break
from looting and attacking.
You made your point. You're okay with the president saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts. You have absolutely no problem with that, and you have absolutely no problem with people shooting looters. I get your point. I think it's completely understand your opinion. I just think it's crazy, and I'm shocked that you are defending the president's statements on that. I think it's insane. But hey. I guess we're all entitled to our opinions, but I think it's disgusting. When the president tweets out when the looting starts, the shooting starts. It's the reason why Twitter took it down. It's condoning violence. I have never said that I defend the looters. I have never said that I defend the rioters. I have never said that. And I think they should, to the highest extent of the law. With that being said,
and how does that happen, Brian?
It's called an arrest.
An arrest. You're going to arrest 2,000 looters or 1,000 looters?
There were not 1,000 looters. I don't know where you're getting that from, but we have to move on to the next subject. Coming up next, Jordy Foy is with KARE 11. He was actually on the ground. He's for his local TV station. He is there. This is his city. He's seen this go down with his own eyes. And him coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
The best choice for cleaning and sanitizing? Hazmat Nation. If you work in a casino, hotel, restaurant, anywhere where locals and visitors may shop or do business, then for employers, call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352. Hazmat Nation will send their Top Gun field crew to clean and sanitize from top to bottom with the top technicians and safety officers. Since 2011, Hazmat Nation has been servicing many of the world's top airlines, arenas, hotels, and hospitals of every kind, following strict CDC and EPA guidelines. Hazmat Nation gets it done right the first time.
I'm not saying the protesters are thugs
702-703-52. When they come out to do a free estimate, they'll send along a gallon of CDC EPA approved hand sanitizer just to save business. And they can keep delivering it to you anytime, everyday low volume discounted prices. Call Hazmat Nation today. 702-703-5352.
By the way, the president
online to Hazmat.com.
I'm Jim Snyder. And I'm Marie Mortimer. We want to thank you for making News 3 your number one choice for news.
Went in front of these businesses
I would call them thugs too. Looters and rioters thugs too.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortimer.
With McDelivery, McDonald's comes to you. Wherever you live, home is now at McDonald's. Order your favorites today on Uber Eats or DoorDash. Prices may be higher than at restaurants.
Hopefully it stops more protests or more riots from taking place, more looting from taking place in every city.
Special report Minnesota protests. Attorney General Keith Ellison says protesters must stop the violence and destruction if they want to see justice for the killing of George Floyd.
But the National Guard, the TATUS Act, which means that
administering
the Army goes COVID-19 tests to help people.
They do have insurance, absolutely.
To help people. What if 500 small businesses are asking me wouldn't pay out the policy?
To them, the way you might react to the Minneapolis Police Department.
Factor that in too.
It's not the same group.
I'd rather that.
And then unemployment would go even higher because those people wouldn't have employees, wouldn't have jobs.
It's the same argument
Peace and
business
calm
over lives.
back again.
Well,
Please remember that this is not the group
it's people
that you
breaking into
associate
businesses to
with
and then being okay with that.
Police
I just think
officers
Like that's not
I'm
okay.
not fighting about it.
Protesters say they are
My job is to
with
produce
none
the
of
show.
I get
those
it's
four
true.
police
You guys argue,
officers
but that is
face
not
any
okay.
charges for Floyd's death.
To just be able to just recklessly break into a business.
So let them just come in.
It's time to check the roads.
What else are they supposed to do? No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. Major problems on the 95 at the Spaghetti Bowl in the East Valley 95 northbound. A crash at Eastern Avenue is blocking the left lane. That's creating a slowing pattern from Boulder Highway. And then just past the crash at Eastern 95 northbound, another accident where this one's blocking the
I made the bet and I was
way to the right to get by. There. So essentially, Boulder Highway slowing up to the Spaghetti Bowl because of two. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers all for free. DuckDuckGo Privacy Simplified.
No, but I'm saying you have to be able to make fun of
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you've been hurt in a crash, let me get to work for you.
Call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
That's what we do. We entertain people. Radio is not life or death.
Some restrictions apply.
You remember when your mom and dad talked about the importance of having... I mean, it felt really good knowing the family would have money after something happened. How do you think they felt? They worked their entire life without truly getting the benefit of having term life insurance? MyTermLifeGuy.com. You don't have to die to receive the benefits. A $1 million policy for a healthy male, non-smoker, below $5 a month. MyTermLifeGuy.com.
Doesn't mean not factual. Bias means is that you choose to cover certain things because of your political beliefs.
Parents, stop making excuses for your children and do something to the rest of their lives. Sign up at Infinity Math Institute for the best math tutoring in the country, the best online math tutoring in the world. We help struggle and help successful students get to the next level. We are also here for parents, offering free seminars explaining what your students are learning, why it seems different, and how you can help your child do better. We also offer super affordable SAT prep classes on Fridays before our super popular Friday Fun Night. Students and parents meet like-minded and driven families in a fun and constructive atmosphere. Coming to Infinity will be the best decision you've ever made for your child. Call 768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com and tell them the Vegas Take sent you for a free assessment. That's 702-1777. Because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
More unrest.
Sean
Minneapolis.
More on Unrest.
No, I'm sorry. There was some more. That's probably factually accurate.
I can change that.
Or you could say more riots in Minneapolis. Or something.
That's definitely close enough.
Sorry.
Hey, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Friday. If you're just joining us, we're speaking, of course, about the city of Minneapolis involving George Floyd, an innocent African-American man who was murdered in broad daylight. Let's just call it for what it is, by 4 officers. At least 3 of the officers were Mayor Jacob Frey, because I've been openly criticizing him because I thought the move, to allow these burnings to, listen, I know he didn't want these buildings to burn down like Precinct 3, but with that being said, you have a bunch of police officers. The National Guard was supposed to be in there already. What do you make of his response? Because it seems to be the opposite of what the governor said this morning in a press conference, of allowing, because that's really what he did. Let's just call it for what it is. He said the reason why he didn't want police out there because he doesn't want anyone else to be hurt or killed. But what do you make of that decision of just, allowing some of these criminals, that's what they are, to burn down these buildings?
I think his number one priority, he was really trying to keep people safe. But this is a kind of a layered issue because this is unprecedented. People criticize him for maybe not having a plan, or not being clear on his plans, both him and the mayor of St. Paul. But how do you have a plan for this?
Yeah, that's a good point, and I understand that. You make a valid point there. It's very difficult to plan for something like this to happen. That is fair, and maybe the mayor. Go ahead.
But then again, people want action. People want to plan. And this is such a divided topic because some say these people need to be arrested. They're criminals. Some say they're demanding justice. This is their right. This is a problem that has been seen for generations and generations. So how do you navigate that situation as a public official?
That's a good question. So now I'm going to ask you, and maybe it's the billion-dollar question. The governor, in a press conference not that long ago, the press conference is still going on. The governor spoke and he said they are not going to allow people to burn down buildings tonight. How? What is he going to do to prevent that from happening?
I wouldn't be surprised if the National Guard had a bigger role in activities tonight, if there were activities. I know, at a certain point, they came in and they started controlling the situation around the precinct. But I think tonight, if things were to unfold like they did, where, nearly 200 businesses were burned, people were hurt, I think National Guard will step in and play a bigger role.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jordy Foy. He's with Care 11, covering this for his television station. I remember when October 1 happened a couple years ago, and Jordy, I've been living in Las Vegas for 20 years, and we were the story. Sadly, for weeks, everybody was here: CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. We were the story in the world, really. And when I was walking around where the shooting happened, I felt like I was in a dream. Like, it didn't feel like a bad dream. It felt like it wasn't real life. This is your city, Jordy, right? You live there. You work there. Do you get that same feeling? Like this doesn't even feel real?
Of course. There's places that you see, for example, yesterday, we were in a neighborhood where I used to live, not five minutes away, and these buildings you're seeing looted, that's one thing, but then you see them burning, and that's a whole other situation. It doesn't seem real, and you kind of ask yourself, is this what grieving looks like? Is this what this protest really wants to become? Because I think, it's losing, to some people, it's losing sight of, honoring George Floyd.
Well, yeah, it's looking like to a lot of the country like a tragedy is being exploited to for personal enrichment and just to cause chaos. So one thing that I've been kind of curious about is you look at these 4 officers, especially Derek Chauvin. He obviously isn't in custody. Is there? And I think to myself, maybe the reason is because if he does say they put him in custody and he doesn't actually get charged or convicted of these crimes, the reaction could be even worse. Do you think there's something that has something to do with that, as far as before he goes into custody, they want to make sure that he will be convicted and charged with this crime?
Well, the district attorney brought up a good point yesterday in her interview. She's like, she wants to make, she really simplified it. She wants all the ducks in the row. She doesn't want anything to slip through the cracks.
Right.
I think some people forget too, like, these kinds of investigations and, something this high profile is going to take time.
I agree. I agree that it will take time. I just didn't like it the way that the county attorney, Mike Freeman, worded it yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to ask you. I have to ask you something that I think it shows you how serious this situation is. If you don't already know, I heard a rumor that there were choppers out there, helicopters, news helicopters, and that there were people pointing lasers to the helicopters, which could cause a pilot to lose control of a helicopter and crash. And if it crashes in a crowd of thousands of people, I can't even imagine how many people would die. Is that true? Did that happen last night?
Sadly, yes. Yeah, I was in the newsroom, and we actually had to move our helicopter pilot away from the scene because people are pointing lasers.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that is absolutely disgusting and embarrassing. So, of the 200 businesses that were burned, obviously there was a Target and AutoZone. How many were small businesses, Jordy?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that, but a lot of the businesses in that area are small community-owned businesses, and so it's heartbreaking for them because not only are we in the middle of a pandemic and our state, we're kind of starting to reopen slowly, and a lot of businesses, restaurants, salons, stuff like that are opening, in a couple of days here.
Sure.
And now they won't be able to open.
That's sad.
And it's going to take a lot of neighbors leaning on neighbors to rebuild. But right now, I think, like the governor said, they've got to get order in the streets before they can even start, this conversation of, like, how do we come back from this? Like, no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, like, we're going to have to work together to create a new normal.
No question. This is going to, no question. It could take months, maybe even years. The library was burned down. You got a precinct that was burned down. Local businesses shattered. Well, Jordy, let me say this before we let you go, man. Besides the fact that we really do appreciate you taking some time to come in. I know it's been a long couple of days for you. Please stay safe, my friend. You, your family. Yes, please stay safe. You're doing a great job out there. And we appreciate you coming on. Please have a safe weekend, okay, Jordy? And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Jordy.
Jordy Foy doing a great job as a producer there over at KARE 11 covering this story, helping to get the story out there. By the way, speaking of media trying to cover this story, this is so disgusting to me, and it shows you the incompetence of some of these
If you're just tuning in, you are watching our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, by state police in Minnesota. We're not sure why.
All right, those cops should be fired. And by the way, the CEO called the governor. The governor has apologized. It's not the governor's fault, okay? It's not the governor's fault that this crew was arrested, but it's wrong, and I'm funny about it. I think it's disgusting. Now, is it as disgusting as somebody putting their knee over George Floyd's neck and murdering him? No, of course not. But this is an embarrassment to the police department. And if I was a member of the media, I would sue the hell out of those bastards for doing that because they're incompetent. I'll take some phone calls, 702-257-5396. 702-257-5396. When we have some police officers that are that stupid that they cannot recognize a reporter live on the air on CNN and they arrest him for no reason, are these the people that we want to serve and protect us? The majority of police officers are good people. Some of these people in Minneapolis are some of the dumbest cops on the planet. They really are. 702-257-5396 is the number
I
to
would
call.
also ask Brian, why would they arrest a peaceful reporter when you had people overnight that were, burning a police building down and actually committing crimes, and they did nothing?
Yeah,
and yet here's a reporter that just was in their way. It just seems like the priorities are a little bit backwards there.
By the way, Brian, if 200 small businesses or businesses were burnt down, then there was way more than 1,000 looters and protesters and rioters.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Just saying you were wrong before, but yeah, I agree. It's very, very odd that Omar Jimenez was arrested under these circumstances. I think that I'm guessing that they probably wanted that coverage that they didn't want whatever was going on to be seen by the national by their viewers.
No, I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. I don't think that's the case because there's reporters everywhere that are doing stand-ups. I think it was just a situation where these officers, it's not an excuse. They're probably very stressed out.
Of course they're very stressed out, Brian.
And they're idiots because they didn't, it would have taken anybody with a common sense to realize that this guy's a legitimate reporter.
And do you think that because he was African-American, that's part of why he was arrested?
I don't know the answer to that question for sure, but I do find it ironic that he was African-American. I do find it ironic. Some of these cops in Minneapolis, and I hope it's not the majority of them, I don't know, but some of these cops, the ones that put their knee over George Floyd, the one that thinks it's okay to arrest a live reporter on CNN, are some of the dumbest police officers I've ever seen in my life.
And that cannot be argued, but all these different things were already in motion before these riots took place. Not the protest, I'm talking about the riots. There was an FBI investigation, there was a Department of Justice investigation. Eventually, Derek Chauvin is going to, his life is likely over. These 4 police officers, they've already been fired. There's going to be a major investigation into the tendencies and the habits and the teaching of the Minneapolis Police Department.
Right,
rioting doesn't accomplish anything. All this was taking place well before any of that happened. But I do think that part of the reason why this riot was so aggressive is because of COVID-19. People have been locked in their houses essentially for a long time. A lot of them are unemployed. A lot haven't been able to work out. A lot haven't been able to release their stress. I think a lot of this particular riot has to do with the fact that just the lockdown from COVID-19.
I disagree.
And you think it's totally about George Floyd? Because it's not.
Here's the way I'll answer that. Here's the way I'll answer that question.
The protesting is all about George Floyd, in my opinion.
So here's the way I'll answer that question.
Is something totally different.
Here's the way I'll answer that question. It's a very simple answer. If George Floyd wasn't murdered in broad daylight, none of these riots or protests would be happening right now.
I'm saying it's definitely a factor.
It's not a factor.
But I'm not saying it is I think there's a lot of things that are taking place simultaneously to fuel the fire.
He said it's the reason it's particularly aggressive.
Perhaps.
Is what he says.
That is what I said. Exactly.
Perhaps. But what I'm trying to say is that these wouldn't even be happening right now if George Floyd wasn't.
Well, and by that logic, had Amy Klobuchar decided to go after Derek Chauvin when he was involved in another officer involved on unnecessary death, then none of this would have taken place in the first place. So let's go by that logic if you want to.
No, I'm just going by the logic of
she was a prosecutor.
Yeah,
she was.
I'm just going by the logic of an innocent African-American man being murdered in broad daylight a few days ago, and that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with now. You could say, well, it could be a little worse because of the coronavirus. Okay, but if this doesn't happen, these riots aren't happening. Let's get to the phone calls. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're first up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, good morning, Brian. JD, I'd like to know something. There was a comment made that somebody would get shot for stealing TVs. Earlier, I think it was JD saying that it would be justified. I'm curious, Brian, you said no way, but here's the thing. They're not stealing just TVs. They're burning the building. So my question is to you, Brian, what happened back in the years of Rodney King when the Korean people were up on the roofs with AK-47s and defending their businesses? Did you think that was wrong?
Here's what Here's what I think is wrong. I believe if your life is in jeopardy, for example, if you're running a 7-Eleven store and somebody goes in there with a knife or a gun, you can shoot him and kill him. I have absolutely no problem with that. But here's where I disagree.
7-Eleven is not a small business, Brian. That is a billion-dollar corporation. There is a major. You have to factor that in.
Let me know if I could finish my statement without you interrupting me. Thank you.
Please some time for me too, please.
No problem. But JD interrupted me, so I would just like to finish my statement.
Thank you.
Okay, if I could just finish my thought now. What I have a problem with is we're talking about nobody that is armed, my understanding, knives, guns, that is robbing somebody at gunpoint. I don't defend what they're doing, and they deserve to be arrested, and they deserve to be charged. But what Donald Trump tweeted out is insinuating that we could get the National Guard out there just to start shooting people for going into these businesses and stealing stuff. I have a serious problem with that, and I would hope that you would too.
Okay, so Brian, I need to ask you something. I understand there's going to be a Black Lives Matter march. The last thing I heard was 8 p.m. tonight.
There's one at 2 p.m. I believe.
No, it's at 2 p.m. at the Miracle Mile Mall.
It's 2 p.m., but go ahead.
Oh, okay, it's 2 p.m. Okay. Let's just, okay, if I have a business, my father's got a business downtown. 10 of us family members are going to go down there and protect the business. Should there be a problem if there's a march nearby where the business is? I want to know, would you be against us defending our business if we're getting shot at or we're trying to burn the business?
Okay, well, that's first of all right, hold on, let me answer that. No, you asked me a question, now let me answer it, sir. Where did I say that if you're being shot at, you can't defend yourself and shoot that person?
No, you said burning the building down because you said something about the TVs being
Okay, let me be very clear. Okay, so let me be very clear on that as well. Now, you're the one who said if I'm being shot at. You said that, not me. Okay? Okay, okay, so let me answer you. All right, I get your question. I get your question. I understand, so let me answer you. I understand your question. If you're in that building with your, okay, I understand, you got to let me answer your question now. If you're in that building and you see people lighting your building on fire, I have no problem with you defending yourself because you know what? You could die. They are jeopardizing, okay? But there's a fine line and a difference to me, and I think the law would agree with me on this one, between you being in a business and your life being in jeopardy and nobody being in that business, nobody in those businesses, people lighting it on fire. It's still a very serious crime, but nobody's life is necessarily in jeopardy. The business is in jeopardy. So
you're suggesting for me and my family not to go down there with good heavy arms. Is that what you're suggesting?
What I am suggesting, first of all,
he's not factoring in your father's livelihood.
Okay, so what I am
that's the issue.
Okay, so what I am suggesting is this. You're damn right. If you think, and by the way, I have no evidence and you have no evidence to support the fact that your building is going to be burned down.
Oh, he's just making a hypothetical situation.
Well, I'm answering
because what happened in Minneapolis, we don't want the same thing to happen in Las Vegas,
I don't believe
or in LA,
okay, so
or in Dallas, or in Houston, or in any major city with a good-sized urban area.
It's illegal to kill someone over property.
Yes,
okay, it's called the castle. It's called the castle doctrine.
Yes, there are laws in place
that allows you to protect yourself in your life. But it does not extend to property, generally speaking, and that's the law in Minneapolis. If you think someone's going to steal your flowers from, like this woman we're going to talk to and her florist business,
you can't shoot them,
or their TVs, or their beer, or whatever. If they're breaking into a bar, you can't kill someone solely over loss of property.
Let's try to steal.
If someone breaks into your home, you can kill them
because it's called the castle doctrine, and in that case, you're in fear of your life.
Yes, absolutely. If you're in fear
of your life.
If
you're at your business and you're operating your business, and 5 or 6 people break into your business and they're destroying things, someone attempts to burn it down, someone takes a lot of things out of the business.
It would be an issue for the. It would be an issue.
How are you supposed to defend yourself?
It would be an issue for the courtroom, and you'd have to. And
if there's 1,000 cases,
and a jury would
like
have to decide if you were defending yourself, or if someone was running away with a TV and you shot him in the back. That's a different story.
If 1,000 situations like that happened, how would that possibly be able to be delineated through the court system?
I'm just speaking.
That's the worry here. Kind of like the worry was overrunning the hospitals with COVID-19. Now we're looking at
this has nothing to do with
overrunning small businesses all over the country that are being broken into over this circumstance, and them not being able to defend themselves.
Well, it depends. Are you in the building at the time?
Okay,
that makes a big difference too.
There are laws in place, and the law is on my side. If you are in fear of your life, you're defending yourself. I am totally okay with you brandishing a weapon and defending yourself. If it is solely about defending your business, like that last caller said, you do not have the right to shoot people.
But your business is your livelihood.
That's not what the law says.
If it is a small business, if you're not a Target, if you're not an AutoZone, if you're not a 7-Eleven, if you're not a McDonald's, your business is your livelihood,
so
Brian.
Let me respond to that.
Because you put time, sweat, and money into developing that business.
Okay. 2 things to respond to what you just said. First of all, the law disagrees with you. It's not just me. So let's just be clear on that. That's number 1. And number 2, there's something called insurance. And if you're a semi-intelligent business owner, you have something called insurance.
And insurance companies can go broke under these circumstances. They can deny claims.
So they don't have insurance. Okay,
I'm not saying they don't have insurance. I'm saying the payout could take six months to a year.
Okay.
And the business could be out of business.
Well, you know what? I would rather have someone.
And then they would have to live off the government during that time period.
So I would rather have someone.
That's the goal, is to prevent something like that. So you're not a small business owner. You never have.
Are you a small business owner?
I've owned several small businesses over the course of my life. What? Absolutely, I have.
All right, we'll take a break. I don't want to get into that with you, but I just want people's lives to be safe. That's all. And I'm not going to put somebody's business over people's lives, even if they are criminals. And the law is on my side, not your side. And whether I own a small business or not has zero to do with this discussion. Zero. I know the law. You don't know the law. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Kim Erickson is the owner of Soderberg's Floors. She owns a small business in Minneapolis. We'll talk to her coming up next. It's the Vegas Take right here, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
I am Washington with Merrily Joyce, taking Nevadans to Capitol Hill for the latest on the federal issues that matter most to you.
I on Washington, Saturday morning at 9:30 on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI Guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI Guys.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report, Minnesota protests. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says violence and destruction is not the way to respond to the killing of a black man in police custody.
What the world has witnessed since the killing of George Floyd on Monday has been a visceral pain, a community trying to understand who we are and where we go from here.
Floyd's killing has people demanding changes against police. Attorney General Keith Ellison.
It is important that people have confidence that accountability, no matter who you may be, is how we live in Minnesota.
Council Vice President Andrea Jenkins.
We're going to need everybody to help with this. People who are on the side of righteousness and justice need to really step forward and not let this happen again tonight.
Governor Walz says he expects swift justice for the police officers involved. I'm Mike Moss. Kentucky saw race-related protesting last night as well.
Louisville police say at least 7 people were shot last night, with at least 1 person in critical condition. Videos posted on social media appear to show shots being fired while demonstrators surround a police vehicle. Taylor was a 26-year-old black EMS technician, fatally shot last March by 3 white police officers inside her home during a narcotics raid, possibly a case of a mistaken address. No drugs were found in the apartment. The officers are on administrative leave but have not been charged with a crime. Police say the gathering of several hundred protesters began peacefully but escalated to involve assaults on officers and property damage before the shooting. I'm Scott Carr.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry says his decision not to take action against protesters who burned a police building put a value over lives against buildings. On Wall Street, the Dow up 206. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. An accident on the 95 northbound at the Spaghetti Bowl, blocking 2 left lanes. Merge right to get by. Heavy traffic from Las Vegas Boulevard. An earlier crash on 95 north at Eastern Avenue. Vehicles are moved over to the right now. Looks like this is finally in the clearing stage. And also a crash on the Surface Streets Boulder Highway, southbound, near the 95. Use Eastern or Nellis as an alternate and get around the slow and go that way. Fed up with companies selling your data? DuckDuckGo is on it. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
Right now, home sweet home has never been sweeter. Our homes are more important than ever, and finding people we trust to take care of them is just as important. For over 20 years, Home Advisor has been connecting homeowners with trusted local plumbers, electricians, roofers, and more. And now we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the Home Advisor Network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer200 for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer200.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out homey.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average, and if you're buying a home, you'll save even more. Remember, you still get a 5-star experience with your local Homey agent and an easy-to-use app, all without the crazy commissions. Text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Again, text JD to 88588. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Homey's got your back. Now more than ever, we need companies that have our back. Homey just launched in Las Vegas and is already saving us thousands in real estate fees, and now they're helping our community in partnership with United Way of Southern Nevada. For each home bought or sold with Homey, they are donating $500 to the United Way to provide rent and mortgage assistance. And if you have to sell your home because of COVID-19, Homey will rebate their $2,500 listing fee back to you. Text JD to 88588 to buy or sell with Homey. Homey really does have our back.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you get hurt in a crash, did you know your lawyer can take more money than you? That's right. You get hurt and the lawyer gets rich. Not very fair, is it? When you hire me, those worries go bye, bye, bye. I promise never to take more money than you. And I put it in writing.
If you're tired of greedy lawyers, call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
The water is waiting. And this summer, Yamaha is dedicated to helping you get back out there by offering 0 down, 0% APR, and 0 payments for 180 days on all new Yamaha boats. This year, summer's on us, because a little time on the water with Yamaha is what we all need. Boating Lake Mead is located on Boulder Highway, just south of Desert Inn Road. BoatingLakeMead.com.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Friday. Of course, there's two different issues here when it comes to Minneapolis. George Floyd, his life was taken from him. There needs to be justice. And then there's the other side of it, the looters, the riots, burning down buildings. We're going to focus on that right now because the lady joining us right now owns Soderbergh's Florist. It is right in the heart of everything that is taking place, sadly, in Minneapolis. It is the one building right now that has been spared from the rioting. It is a large yellow flower shop on Lake and 33rd Avenue. And the owner, Kim Erickson, has gone so far as to, get armed guards outside her shop. It's just a horrible situation. We appreciate Kim taking some time to join us. Kim, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. And how are you?
I'm doing good. Kim, first of all, let me just say this. I'm so sorry for what you have been having to go through. You did nothing wrong, and you don't deserve this. So I want to say I'm sorry for you and your family to having to go through this stress. It's awful. When did you first think that your store might be in jeopardy? Like, when was the first moment that you said, uh-oh, we might be in some trouble?
Well, I'm in a unique situation where I actually live above the flower shop. My home is there. And I was that first night, it was an absolutely terrifying evening and night in my home, and where all the businesses around me, including the auto plate store that is literally 2 feet across the alley to me, and that was being looted. Everything was being looted. I was absolutely terrified and I was doing okay until about 2 o'clock in the morning, where about a block from here we have a very large Walgreens, and they set that on fire, and that I at that point was in a panic. And that moment made a difference to me, because oh my gosh, I've got to figure out a plan to protect myself and this business.
Sure. So talk to me a little bit about that. How are you protecting yourself in this business? Tell me the steps that you've taken to do that.
Well, like you said earlier, I'm with one of the businesses that has, for some reason, everything around me had been looted or destroyed, but my shop has so far been undamaged. So we preemptively boarded it up yesterday morning. And like you said, I had to go this far as hire armed guards and for there to patrol and in the evenings, and I closed for until the foreseeable future, and see what has happened. It's been so sad and so tough.
So
the last 3 months of COVID, and then going into this.
Sure. Exactly. So if you had a chance to speak to the mayor, the reason why I asked this, I want to know what you would say to him, because I have a serious problem with what he did yesterday. And I understand he doesn't want people to get hurt or killed. I get that. But with that being said, he made the decision to kind of back off police and law enforcement and allow people basically to burn down businesses in Precinct 3. I would imagine that must upset you. It upsets me. I don't know any businesses out there. What would you say to the mayor?
Well, that's a loaded question, because I would have a lot to say to that man. I'm not a very locally political person, but the disappointment that I feel in this local government is words don't have anything to say. The depths of it. Minneapolis is a very unique city. We have the ordinances that come down from our city council and mayor are so numerous and unique to other cities. For instance, we have higher minimum wage. We have to pay safe and sick time for every employee, including part-time. We have bag charges, things like that, things that are not in any other city. And we're happy to pay these things and happy to be an advocate for our city. But where was our city when we needed them? And if the National Guard had been called out yesterday afternoon, right now all of Minneapolis and St. Paul and the suburbs are on fire. If it had just taken steps yesterday afternoon when it was needed, none of this would have happened. I just watched that press conference, and the state has taken over, and I've never been so happy, because this government, this city has failed all of us as business owners. And it's just like I said, I'm so upset, and so words cannot tell you how we have to protect our own selves.
And I rightfully so, and I agree with everything you said, and I sympathize with you. I have to ask you one question, and this isn't the main reason why we had you on, but I'm not talking about the rioters. I'm not talking about the ones that are affecting your business. I'm specifically talking about the minorities throughout the country that are upset and angry and frustrated with the way law enforcement treats minorities. Do you have any thoughts you could give us as a business owner in that city? You live there, with the way George Floyd was treated and, in my personal opinion, murdered. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just one person in a large city, and I watched those tapes, and I am equally as appalled. And I can't say enough on how much that I am, as a member of the city of Minneapolis, that I am so sorry that this has happened and that this has gone on, and it is systemic in our city, and it's just a shame. And I as a business owner, I can tell you I have a diverse employee base, and it's so disheartening, and I feel for all of us, and in that it should not happen to any human any person at any time.
Before you hired the armed security guards, did you have any interaction with the local police at all, and what was their response to you as far as, hey, I'm a business owner, this is happening close to me, I'm in fear for my business and as well as my life because I live above my particular business. Did you reach out to anyone, and how was the response to you?
Well, that evening that I talked about, I called 911 at least 5 or 6 times. And they took my name, my information, and hung up and went to the next call. They were very overwhelmed, and rightfully so. But is that alone is the only interaction that I had with the police.
Wow. So
and on that and the interaction or presence or seeing any police officer for the last 2 days.
Wow. So hypothetically, say your business was attacked and you didn't have these armed security guards and you reached out to the police, your business would be either burnt to the ground or it would be destroyed in some manner, possibly your home, and there would be no recourse whatsoever or protection without the armed security guards.
At this point, as of this moment, that is absolutely correct.
So, Kim, what would have happened if somebody went into your shop, you had a gun, they're not armed, they have a knife, or they don't have a knife, they don't have a gun, and I'm not defending what they're doing by any stretch of the imagination, they're criminals. Do you think that if they're not lighting your place on fire, your life isn't in danger, if they're going in there stealing flowers, do you think they deserve to be shot?
Oh, I would not have a comment on that at all. I mean, I of course not. But take the flowers, take what you want, but leave me
Exactly.
Leave me safe, and my government, my business, safe.
I agree. Yep. Yeah. I agree.
No one needs to be shot. No.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and that's the kind of debate we've had on the show. Certainly, if you live upstairs and somebody's trying to burn down your building, that's a different circumstance. Your life is in jeopardy. Well, listen, Kim, you seem like a very nice lady, and I'm so sorry with what you and your family are having to go through. It's disgusting what they're doing to your city, and
Can I tell you one thing?
Sure.
The last time I was outside with this COVID thing was when I was coming home from a 2-week vacation in Vegas. And I had the very best time. It was the best vacation I'd had in years. So Vegas rocks.
Kim, we appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words.
You know what? When everything is back to normal, Kim, hit up my producer. I'd love to meet you sometime.
And Kim, we're back on June 4th. 46 casinos are opening on June 4th.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Kim, for lack of a better term, I hope your florist flourishes. I hope everything gets back to normal soon for you, and you're able to run your business, you and your family. And we really appreciate you please stay safe this weekend. That's number one important, right? Stay safe, you and your family. And thank you so much for coming on and telling your story. Okay, Kim?
You're welcome. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Kim.
Very nice lady, and I really feel for her. But, she said it best. Nobody should be shot. Nobody should be killed.
You also made the example of one person. Under these circumstances, it would be more like 10 or 15 people at once barging into your business.
Well, like she said,
and destroying it with reckless abandon, not coming in and stealing one flower and leaving. There's a major difference there between the way that you describe the two situations.
But, she said it best, and I'm just going to go by what she said right now. As an actual business owner in that area, she said she doesn't want anyone to be shot. She doesn't need anybody to be shot. Just don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. And I think that's the important thing that we need to take away from this.
She also said that if she needed help, that she would have not gotten any help.
Okay,
from the police department.
Fair enough. I'm just making the point.
Without those armed security guards, and they're armed for a reason, Brian.
Okay.
Because they're prepared to shoot someone. That's why they're armed.
Okay.
But without those security guards, there's absolutely no protection for her business or for her home because her home is above her business.
Fair enough. To me,
let's factor it all in.
I'm just factoring in one thing and one thing only, the law. And the law is on my side, and that's why I'm defending the law. Let's take some phone calls on that. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, now is the time to do it. The number 257-5396. Who is our first caller up here? Is it Hester? Hester, you're first up on the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Hester?
I'm fine. Okay, so first of all, I got a whole bunch to say, so I'm going to say it really quickly. First of all, I want to preface it by saying that I am a black female. So I agree with the woman that just called. I could feel her heart, and I really feel for her. And if I was in her position and living above her shop that she worked all of her life for it to be burned down by anybody, I think is crazy. And if I had a gun, I would protect myself as well, because she spent her whole life. That's what America's about. But the thing about the looting and all of this thing, I just think people need to understand that people are mad. They're angry. And the reason why is because this is not the first time. You know, this is not the second time. This has happened over and over and over and over again. Rodney King was just the first time that we saw it on, that it was actually where you could see it. Just like in 1968, the first time people sat in their living rooms and saw what was actually happening, then things changed, the visual. So all I'm saying is that people are angry.
Hester, can I jump in?
What they're doing? Yes.
Please stay on the line, and I appreciate your perspective. I am not black. I am white. I don't pretend to be black, and I don't know what it is like to be in your shoes every day. With that being said, I am on your side. I am sick of it. You are absolutely right. This is not the first time, and I want you to understand that those bastards, those cops who did this, do not represent me. They do not represent me. But I also want to pull back on a little bit of what you said, and I understand where you're coming from. People are angry. They have a right to be angry. But I just don't think, and I get it, you're angry, you need to lash out. I just don't think that is an excuse to do what some of these, not all of these, but some of these protesters are doing. Burning down buildings, ruining people's lives.
And you're confusing protesting with rioting. There is a difference, Brian.
Wait a minute. No, let me say something. Let me just say my other point, then I'll be quiet and listen. I understand what you're saying. There is a difference. The looting is terrible. The burning down, like you said, of this lady's hard-earned money.
Right.
She shouldn't be discriminated against either. But my thing is, living here, 2020, and I mean, I'm
Sure.
East Coast in here.
So am I. I'm from Connecticut. So am I.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm from Michigan. So, but living here in this United States as a black man,
Right.
my children, my husband, it's crazy that the same.
It is. It is. You're right.
I shouldn't have to worry about my 19-year-old going out.
Hester, you're 100% right. I sympathize. You're right.
Is if these attitudes don't change, nothing will change. We still have police officers and people
All right.
that are just openly.
You're making my point for me. You're absolutely correct, and I don't disagree with anything you said, but you're making my point for me. I do not personally believe that looting and rioting and burning down buildings is going to change anything. In fact, I think it'll make it worse. Here's what I think will work, and I don't have all the answers, Hester, but here's number one, and I've been saying this for a decade. Every police officer, mandatory, body cameras and audio, 24/7. It not only protects you, it protects the officers. That's the first thing that needs to happen, universal. Because guess what? Instead of speculating on what happened to Michael Brown, we would know exactly what would have happened because we would have had a body camera and audio. We need body camera and audio everywhere. You know why? Because even if a police officer is racist, guess what? They're going to be held accountable even if somebody dies. And at any point, a member of the public can request body camera and audio. That's the only way right now we are going to have changes in this country. You're not going to change the fact that there are racist police officers out there, but you can hold them accountable by forcing them to put those body cameras on and audio. Let's get back to the phone calls.
And you need to make changes in those specific racist police departments. And the Minneapolis Police Department is extremely racist. They kill African Americans at a 13 times higher rate than they do Caucasians. That's the highest in the country.
But how do we stop that?
There is systemic. Well, you have to go to the actual department itself. With the same thing in Brunswick, Georgia, where Ahmaud Arbery died. You have to review, you have to vet, and you have to change. You have to make changes within the department itself.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
But doing this, looting and rioting and burning down buildings, all this is going to do is eventually create martial law in urban areas, Brian. It's going to take all of our freedoms away. That's what's going to happen here, because the Army will get involved under the Posse, under the Posse Act from 1864. They will get involved and they will disband all these things very, very quickly, and then we'll be forced to be under military rule under those those specific situations.
I disagree with you.
That's what's going to take place.
So
that's all that's going to happen.
So I disagree.
And everything that was going to happen before this riot was, nothing has changed.
So
you're going to go through the protocol. This guy is getting investigated by the FBI and the DOJ. He's probably going to spend a lot of time in jail. All 4 of these cops are never going to work in police again. They will. The 3 should be accessory to murder. That's going to happen no matter what. The problem is it's not happening fast enough.
This is not the first time that this has happened. It happened in Ferguson.
I'm not saying it's the first time. I understand
you said that.
Brian, I get that.
I didn't say that. You didn't let me finish my statement. What I was going to say was this isn't the first time this has happened. It happened, for example, in Ferguson. We had riots. We did not have martial law. I do not believe we are going to have martial law in Minneapolis. What did happen in Ferguson, okay, was the same thing that happened in Minneapolis. Nothing really has changed.
When the National Guard comes out, that is the start of martial law. Don't you understand that?
So the same thing happened in Ferguson, okay? You're saying I don't understand something, and then 10 minutes ago you're saying if somebody steals your TV, I will shoot them, even though they got armed.
You are saying that we're not going to have martial law. That is exactly what martial law is.
Okay. It did not happen in Ferguson. I don't believe it's going to happen in
Minneapolis. It's the military coming to urban areas and enforcing the law.
And this is very important. This is breaking news. Just in, the Minneapolis police officer seen kneeling on the neck of George Floyd has been taken into custody, according to local reports.
That is big news. But what about the other 3 officers?
Well, I don't know. This is breaking news coming out of NBC
So
News.
this just happened in the last minute. The officer that put his knee on the neck of George Floyd has just been taken into custody. We are getting this information before CNN, Fox News, anybody. We are giving it to you right now. Again, this is very important information. We don't know what the charges are, but what we do know is that officer has just been taken into custody, the main culprit who murdered George
This is
Floyd.
coming from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune.
I'm sure it's accurate.
WCCO, which is a big local news station in Minnesota.
And now the issue with this is that it's going to look like these riots push this to take place, and so the precedent that you can riot and things will be a result of it it's going to make riots look effective, and I have a huge problem with that.
I disagree with that. I think the video speaks for itself. It's not the riots that arrested this guy, it's the video and the evidence, and I'm going to stick by that. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Calvin, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Calvin, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Calvin?
How you doing, sir?
Good.
You know, as a former police officer, man, I am praying that somebody quells this violence, because that looting and all that stuff, that is bad. And if I was a cop, I would be hooking up some of the ones if I see it in my presence, regardless of the outcome. But one of my biggest problems is when Trump opened his mouth today, that was just crazy. For him to go back and say when the looting started, the shooting started, if he were a historian, he would have known that was in the 60s.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Happened back then.
You're right.
When that happened back then, whites used to come in and they would put the dogs, the water hoses, and everything, and even the military came in, and they would all arrest the black people who were protesting, and it was their right to protest. Even white people who tried to help them were arrested as well.
Calvin, I want you to
talking about make America great again.
Yes.
It wasn't great.
Calvin, here's what I want you to do, okay? I want you to talk to JD right now, because I agree with you 150%. And JD seems to think that there's nothing wrong with what the president said. So can you please explain to JD why it's wrong?
Well, JD, I think you're a very articulate young man. You speak your mind.
Thank you, Calvin.
Sometimes you let things that come out support something that I know you really don't support. By him saying that, you're talking about a time in American history when blacks had no recourse. They were beaten. They were only doing the same thing people are doing now.
Calvin, I can tell you this. I was totally unfamiliar with that 1967 quote by that Miami police chief.
I was born in
I was born in 1985 in St. Joseph, Missouri. So I did not know there was a correlation between the two.
Hold on a second.
My parents were a part of some of those things that happened in the 60s, and I'm gonna tell you, as a kid, 5, 6 years old, I saw it. Nobody told me. I had a cop take an American flag out of my hand and just snatch it. And I'm in Meridian, Mississippi.
Calvin, were you listening? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Calvin. Were you listening the first segment of the show? Were you listening?
Yes, I had. I listen to
you
guys every day, man.
Thank you.
I like your show.
Calvin, I appreciate you. The reason why I asked you that is because if you recall, what was I talking about in Trump's statements? Didn't I give background to it? Didn't I talk about? Yeah, and I was born in. Right, and you lived through it, my friend. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to have lived through it to know. And Calvin, I always appreciate it. Calvin, I appreciate you.
Just one other point.
Yep.
The young lady that you guys told, what would she do?
Yes, sir.
Somebody was in her store.
Yes.
I'm gonna would treat it like my house. I'm not gonna get up and ask you if you break in my house, why are you here? I'm shooting, and you better pray you get out. I'm not asking you anything. Because asking you to give me time to hurt me and my family.
Well, that's certainly your opinion, Calvin. And if your life feels threatened or your family's life feels threatened, then you would have a case.
And in the case of a small business, your life is your livelihood because you put so many things into being a small business owner and an entrepreneur in America.
Well, as I mentioned earlier,
and as the caller before Calvin said, that is the American way. That is capitalism.
No.
That is being able to prosper.
Okay.
Based on how hard and how much you want to work to get what you want. That's why America is great.
I would just retort that by saying the American way is abiding by the law, and if you don't abide by the law, you can go to jail. That's what I would respond to that. All right, here's what we're going to do. I promise you we're going to get to calls on the other side of the break. 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 257-5396. Breaking news. The guy who put his knee over George Floyd's neck has just been taken into custody. Your call's next. It's the Vegas Take.
Every home has a to-do list. That leaky drain, bare spots on the lawn, repainting the trim. To finally get that to-do list done, call in a pro. Over the past 20 years, HomeAdvisor has connected over 100 million homeowners with trusted local pros. And during these times, we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the HomeAdvisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer.
As concerns about the coronavirus persist, AP's ground game inside the outbreak has you covered.
What are steps being taken there to reopen society?
Join Ralph Russo and the AP's global team of journalists as they keep you up to date with the latest news on COVID-19.
The whole rollout will be tied to a map of red and green zones based on how much the virus has spread in your region.
Listen and subscribe to Ground Game, free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy audio.
Hey, are you ready to quit smoking? There's a free Nevada resource here to help you. Just call 1-800-QUIT-NOW from a Nevada area code.
Minnesota protests. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison says anger and frustration aren't good excuses for the violence and destruction of another night of protesting in Minneapolis over the death of George Floyd, a black man in police custody.
But I want to be clear that if the message was this situation with Mr. Floyd is intolerable, absolutely unacceptable.
One of the officers involved in the situation has been arrested. His name is Derek Chauvin. He is the officer seen on video with his knee on Floyd's neck while Floyd was pleading that he could not breathe. Protesters have said they wanted to see all 4 police officers in the situation held accountable on criminal charges. Police say they will not tolerate more violence tonight. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. A crash on the 215 Western Beltway northbound at Tropicana. Vehicles off to the right. On the surface streets, watch for slowing for an accident Rainbow Boulevard at the Southern Beltway, or avoid delays, take an alternate like Buffalo or Jones. And a crash reported Boulder Highway southbound near the 95. In that case, use Eastern or Nellis to get around the slow and go that way. Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered with one download. You can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Satisfaction? Simplicity? Performance? When it comes to vaping, we know what matters. At Vuse, we've been pioneering vapor technologies since 2013. All of our liquids are blended in the USA, and our vapor products are only sold through reputable retailers and our website. At Vuse, we charge beyond in what matters to you. Vuse, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited. Website restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Friday. We are covering the breaking news. We had it out there actually before CNN. and that is the officer who knelt on George Floyd has officially been taken into custody. This is from everybody. Everybody is reporting on this now. This is legit. That is good news. But my question still is, what about the other 3 officers? There were 2 other officers that had parts of their body holding down George Floyd, while the Asian officer in front did nothing. Why have those 3 officers not been arrested as well? Maybe it's just a matter of time. We'll have to wait and see. Your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on local businesses? Should you be allowed to shoot somebody if somebody is in your business without a weapon trying to steal something? Well, the law says no. So the law is on my side. What are your thoughts? Again, that number is 702-257-5396. Let's go to John. John, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, how's it going today?
Good. What's on your mind, John?
Okay. I listen to y'all almost every single day, and JD, you seem like the one with the common sense, and Brian, you kind of like the super passionate one.
So what have I said? Oh, that's cool. You're entitled. Good. So you're entitled to your opinion, but I have to ask you, what have I said in this show alone that you think shows that I have no common sense?
No. I was saying you're very passionate about things. I'm not a Trump supporter, and this whole looting, to me, that's idiotic.
I think he's saying there's plot and characters.
I got you, sir.
That's your character that you're playing.
Yep.
Because where is the stop and let's bring peace and let this sort out and let's get this figured out?
Right,
now,
right.
Like JD, I believe if you're a small business person and you're coming into my store, I don't know if you're coming in here to burn it, to hurt me, to do whatever, but in this situation, there's protests and the rioting and the looters, and there's always people who jump on the bandwagon that are going to go, hey, let's break into Target. Target didn't kill this guy, but we're going to steal a bunch of TVs. And
understood, John. All I'm trying to say is this. The law says if you feel like your life is being threatened, not your business, not property, if you feel like your life is in jeopardy, you have the right to shoot. If you feel like your property is in jeopardy, you do not have a right to shoot. That's what the law says, and I agree with the law.
Okay, and so when you try to steal my property and I try to stop you, now my life is in danger.
Okay, well, you're making the decision to try and stop that person. What you should do, at least what the law says you should do, is you should have surveillance cameras, and if you don't have surveillance cameras, well, you're going to have a description of an individual. You call police, and hopefully the police can capture that individual. You cannot take matters into your own hands and shoot somebody and kill somebody because they're stealing something from your store. The law clearly states you cannot do that.
And I would agree with the last caller is if you come into my small business, I treat it as my house. And we live in a police state where it's comply or die at this point. And I also think is there should be, like, if you're a sworn officer of the law and you're doing something like this, you should get like 2 or 3 times the penalty of the average citizen because you've sworn an oath.
Yep.
And by doing something like that,
John,
I think that would stop a lot of the
John, before I let you go, before I let you go, because I'm up against some time here, I have to ask you one more quick question, sir, and I appreciate your compliments and listening to the show. Do you agree with the President of the United States tweeting yesterday, when the looting starts, the shooting starts?
No, that's insane. Where's bring about some kind of peace?
Yep.
Because innocent people are going to get hurt.
Right.
I do go back to is burning these businesses and burning your own community.
Sure. John, I understand.
The police station.
Right.
Down, no, I did not have a problem with that because that is the root cause.
Yeah, sure.
Is because of the police state.
John, I think we have a lot more that we agree on than we disagree, sir. And I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mary. Mary, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
Hi, guys. How you going? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a long-time listener from Australia, so I'm a cheerio from Australia.
I got that with your accent.
Look, I'm an ex-police officer, and what made news here was when the Minnesota Police Force made Australian news by shooting that Australian woman that walked up to the police car. And obviously, Minnesota police are back in the news and have so for a couple of years with what they've the excessive force that they use. Now, obviously, it comes with culture, and also it comes with leadership. Like, I totally agree with you, Brian. You have to have police video cameras on compulsory.
Of course.
And change the culture of the police.
Because Mary, you know what, Mary, you tell me if you disagree with me on this one. Because what you put yourself in a situation, if you own a store and somebody's unarmed and they try to steal something and you shoot and kill them, you're going to have to fight in court. You're probably going to be charged with something. You got to hire attorneys and a team, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get off scot-free on that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And unfortunately, JD, I think you're wrong there. Your life in danger is different to livelihood. It's personal fear of danger and life. Livelihood is secondary. So in a court of law, that wouldn't stand up. You would have had to have proved that your life was in danger. So I totally agree with that.
Well, and I understand, and I appreciate your perspective, but I'm not looking at this as I'm at my store and one person walks in. I'm looking at this as I'm at my store, I'm at my business, and 10 or 12 people walk in. And at that point, what am I supposed to do? And if in a situation like this, when obviously these are unprecedented, it's an unprecedented situation. But when there are thousands of looters and rioters out there that are attacking all these different businesses at once, and you can't get any police response, like, for example, I'm sure you listened to Kim Erickson, who came on our show. She said she called the police 5 times. They took that information and they didn't give her anything. Under those circumstances, and again, they're unique circumstances, I think you have to protect yourself, and I would absolutely protect myself, especially if I had a lot of my life and my time invested into my small business. But that's different than an AutoZone or a Target or a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven or a major, multi-billion-dollar chain.
So Mary, what's your response to that? I don't think it's any different whether you have 1 people in your store or 20 people, so long as they're all doing the same thing and they're not armed. What do you say to that?
Yeah, look, although I'm from Australia, we have probably some different laws and obviously protection on gun laws. But what I can, and from what I relate to Minnesota law, is as long as you can prove, it's the scenario that's important. As long as you can prove that your life is threatened, if there's 10 people maybe unarmed, if they were going to attack you, if you can prove some sort of life-threatening danger,
Right.
then the circumstances would warrant.
Exactly. Yes. Mary, exactly. I appreciate your phone call. Thank you for calling in. Call in anytime, okay, Mary? We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mary.
702-257-5396. We're also following the breaking news that the man who put his knee, the officer who put his knee over George Floyd that eventually led to his death, as I like to call it, murder, has now been taken into custody. Now the questions will arise, what are the charges? And what about the 3 other officers? We're taking your phone calls at 257-5396. Let's go to Scott. Scott, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
If I sound a little loud, it's because I'm on my Bluetooth.
No problem.
I was talking, my brother-in-law's a retired police officer, and I was talking to him about it, and he flat out told me, he said, Scott, the guys that did that, I'm going to tell you right now, we're racist. He says, there's no way you can sit there and do that to a human being unless you dislike the color of his skin. And as far as, protecting my property and everything, I have a CCW, and I'm, allowed to protect myself. That's why I carry it. That's for reasons at work.
Sure.
But if somebody was breaking into my property and I knew I was going there for the specific reason to protect it because there might be rioters and looters, there's no reason why you can't, the first 2 cartridges, put in your gun, blank, fire them, scare the shit out of them. If they don't run, then you're really in jeopardy.
Well, you know what? That's
a good point.
That's a different circumstance, and I don't necessarily disagree with you on that because you're trained to shoot the weapon. It will scare them, and that's different, Scott. You're not going to be charged with anything, right? But if you shoot that individual and kill them without a warning shot, I don't agree with that, and the law doesn't agree with that. You get where I'm coming from, too, right?
Do that.
Sure.
Like I said, I have a CCW, and the last thing I ever want to do, even from my military background and everything, is killing you.
Scott, I agree. I appreciate that, and I think, Scott, I agree with you, but I want to ask you one other question because you said something, your friend who's been a cop, who said this guy who kneeled on your brother-in-law, I apologize, sir. You said that your brother-in-law said this guy who knelt on George Floyd, it had to be race. And by the way, I agree with him. So what would you say to some of the right-wing conservative radio hosts out there, and there are some that I have listened to, that claim that There's no evidence to support the fact that this had anything to do with race, and this officer didn't see this person as a black man, but just a man. What would you say to people like that that spew that nonsense out on the radio?
Well, I would tell them flat out to wake up, number one, because I am a conservative, but I also I put logic before politics, and that was full on unnecessary. You don't need to put anybody in. It only takes 15 seconds to knock somebody out.
Right.
Because I trained in martial arts.
Well, Scott, I wish you were a police officer.
What that guy did was malicious.
Sure.
It should not have been done.
Yep.
Should have let if I would have been standing there, I'd probably have been in jail because I would have bulldogged that cop.
Yeah, I would have pushed him over for sure. Yeah.
Scott, I'm glad that there are people like you out there, and thank you so much for calling in and being that logical voice.
Good call, Scott.
Appreciate
And
it.
Brian, this obviously, and we both agree that race had a lot to do with this. Race, combined with the fact that a police officer trying to abuse his power. But these two people knew each other. Derek Chauvin worked in the same club and restaurant as George Floyd when George Floyd was a security guard. They had overlapping shifts for a long time.
It's actually not clear if they knew each other, but they did work at the same place. It's just
I'm going to take it a step
I find it hard to believe that Derek Chauvin didn't know or had not seen George Floyd on multiple occasions.
I tend to agree with JD on that, and I even want to take it a step further, JD. I don't know if you were aware of this or not. Jason informed me about this. The guy who was just arrested that put his knee over George Floyd, his wife was actually charged with writing a false check back in 2005. The same type of charge that they gave to this man, George Floyd, who lost his life. But it's funny, his wife is still alive. I wonder why. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hi, guys.
What's up, Bob?
I think you're kind of mixing two different things together. A kid coming in and stealing a candy bar is one thing.
Right.
A swarm of people coming into a business with garbage bags and cleaning off the shelves is something entirely different. I believe under martial law that if martial law is declared, you have the right. The military has the right to shoot and kill people who are looters, and I absolutely agree with Trump about looters should be shot.
So, all right. Let's just start from. Well, hold on. You just made a point.
How would you like it if somebody came into your apartment or wherever you're broadcasting from right now?
Uh-huh.
A swarm of people, and they stole
Yep.
all your equipment.
So let me answer your question.
It's not really our equipment.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me answer your question. Let me answer his question.
If it was this,
you got to let me answer his question, sir. Stay on the line. For you to be on the air right now and say you have absolutely no problem with the President of the United States tweeting out when the looting starts, the shooting starts, is disgraceful on your part, and I will tell you why. And I will answer your ridiculous question. Let me tell you something. If we lost some of our equipment, or people came in here right now and stole some of our equipment, or attempted to steal some of our equipment, I would not shoot and kill them. You know why? Because I wouldn't feel like my life is danger if they weren't armed. For you to go on the air right now and say you are totally okay for the leader of the free world to tweet out something, excuse me, I'm not done yet. To tweet out something that was put out in, excuse me, I'm not done yet. For the president to tweet something out that was going all the way back to the 1960s, okay, where the Miami police chief, who was a racist, who declared war on black people for the rioting in 1967. The president, excuse me, dummy, let me finish. You don't interrupt me, you racist. Okay,
hey, Brian, don't call him a racist.
Yeah,
Come on.
No,
don't call him a racist.
Okay,
now you want to yell? I'm going to yell at you. Don't call him a racist.
You finish the rest of the segment.
No, don't call him a racist.
Well, I believe he is a racist, and you're a Klan member, and you're a Grand Wizard. Get the hell off the show, and I hope you never call back again, you son of a bitch. What do you think about that?
Really, really good call, Brian. That was totally necessary.
Yeah, well, it was. It was.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessary for you to yell.
By the way, no, you yelled first, man. I responded to you. Well, by the way, in 2015, the New Orleans police chief actually gave permission after the looting in Katrina, gave permission to police officers to shoot looters. This is not a first-time thing.
Okay.
And obviously, I didn't know that took place in 1967 with the racist Miami police chief. And it's possible that Donald Trump knew that. They definitely use the same terminology, but to assume that Donald Trump is a racist because of that, to me, is a stretch.
Well, I can give you a laundry list of reasons why I actually
You did it. You actually did 2 days ago.
Yeah, I did, and I was right, and I was right then, and I'm right now. But I'd like to take
Donald
some
Trump
more
is
phone
not a
calls.
racist. By the way, just to let you know, his daughter Ivanka Trump. All she did yesterday was she just secured $10 billion. Don't care for small businesses owned by minorities yesterday. That's it. Just $10 billion. Just enough to give 100,000 businesses $1 million.
Let me ask you a question. If you have a daughter that raises a lot of money for charity, or a daughter that's great, does that mean it is impossible for the father not to be a racist? You make absolutely no sense.
That actually makes a lot of sense, Brian.
Well,
and he's employed a ton of African Americans at his various business over the course of his
lifetime. Let me
just
end by just saying this. Bob, I hope you have
Diamond and Silk.
Bob, who just called in.
He probably should, though.
Bob, who just called in, I hope you have fun at your Klan rally tonight. 702-257-5396. You're damn right I'm going to call him a racist. 257-5396. Let's go to Ashad. Ashad, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ashad?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing okay.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
I just started.
And that is not the case at all.
Let me just inform you.
Looters can be, they can be Hispanic, they can be Asian American.
Here's the only point I wanted to make out. I didn't hear anybody else make, and it was this. If I go to my business and I'm trying to protect my business from looters, no one's looted, I'm inside, I'm trying to protect my place, and someone comes, they might as well came into my home. So if they come into my home, it's my stuff, my things. If they come into my business while I'm there now, I might have, they put me in danger.
Writer, and she has been covering this story from day one, and I want to ask her thoughts.
Get to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A.
Welcome. It is certainly not going to quench the
D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
Open enrollment season, and MediShare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it's a fit for you. Healthcare you can believe in.
Nevada is taking a tough stance trying to stop the spread of the coronavirus. The Strip and non-essential businesses are shut down.
Now we have another pathway of the virus for ourselves, our cell phones.
So take a minute to clean it with an alcohol wipe or even a drop of soap. Don't put it underwater, just a little wipe.
Rips the virus to shreds.
Sam and Ash are looking out for you. We will get through this together. Call us at 702-820-1234, samandAsh.com.
Because you deserve what's right.
Warning, this product our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
Hi, it's Alan Masters. Join me and my brother David for Advice Line, 10 to midnight, Monday through Friday on 720 KDON and 101.5 FM. That's Advice Line, America's live radio counseling program. If you've got problems, we've got answers. Monday through Friday, 10 to midnight.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDON.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show
a segment on
I
Stein's
listen to
sex
is
life.
the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Thanks for the pep talk.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Let's ask Amber about her sex life. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We'll take a few more phone calls coming up a little later in the hour. But if we're covering the breaking news, I'm proud to say we had it before any of the networks did. It is that the officer that had his knee over George Floyd's neck has been taken into custody. We don't know exactly yet. We'll know very soon what those charges are, but he is in custody right now. Those other 3 officers still up in the air. We don't know, but that is the breaking news that we are following. And the lady we have on the line with us right now, always love to have her. She a great writer for The Spectator. That would be Amber Athey, who has been covering this story. Amber, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Amber?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
So, Amber, a lot of questions to get to with you in a short period of time. But first, since you've been covering this story, what is your reaction to the fact that this police officer has been taken into custody and arrested?
Well, based on the video, it seems like this was the right thing to do, and perhaps it even took longer than it should have. Obviously, we don't know what the results of the autopsy were on George Floyd, and we don't know if there was other context outside of the video, but it's hard to imagine what context could possibly exonerate someone who had their knee on someone's neck for close to 10 minutes as bystanders were begging him to stop, watching the life leave his body. It was truly horrifying.
Yeah.
And so I think that the fact that this guy has been arrested was really just long overdue.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I think this should have happened sooner. But let me take it a step further and ask you this. Do you think it's a matter of time before these 3 other officers are charged with something? What are your thoughts on that?
They probably will. I've seen the reaction from people who are protesting in Minneapolis, and they've already moved on to the other 3 officers, so they want to see them arrested as well. In terms of the protests that are going on, there's obviously all this looting and rioting, which is unacceptable, but you can't say it didn't get results, because as soon as all of this started happening, that was apparently when they decided to make the arrest.
True. All right. So let's move on to a couple tweets that Donald Trump's put out last night that I think, at the very least, were controversial. One of those tweets has been taken down by Twitter, where he uses the term thugs. And then he says a quote from back in 1967. As you know, a Miami police chief declared war on African Americans back in the rioting in 67. The same quote that Trump used, which is, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. A lot of people are saying that that is condoning violence. What do you say to that?
I thought it was an inappropriate thing to tweet and that it was unnecessarily divisive. I agree with the president's decision to send in the National Guard because the local leadership has been completely ineffective in dealing with this situation. You've seen police officers run out of their own precincts. The Minnesota State National Guard went in and was trying to quell some of the protests as well as giving support to firefighters, but clearly they haven't been able to really stop the rioting and the looting that's been going on. So at this point, there has to be some type of federal response.
Sure.
The president's tweet implies, of course, that people who are rioting deserve to get shot, and that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be trying to escalate violence any further. We should be trying to stamp it out entirely.
Again, Amber, I could not agree with you more on what you just said. I agree with the fact that the president is sending in the National Guard. I agree with the fact that the mayor has just completely screwed this whole thing up. To allow people to burn down buildings and local businesses is a joke. And I'm glad that you, and I agree with you, that the president needs to be held to a higher standard. He can't be inciting violence. And I think that's a reason why, a good reason why Twitter has taken that down. But Amber, I want to give you some breaking news that just came out. We are now learning that the officer that was taken into custody has now been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter charges. Now, that was my question. Was it going to be a murder charge? So I want to get your reaction to that. Not only a manslaughter charge, but third-degree murder. This is serious. You could spend a lot of time, maybe the rest of your life, behind bars if he's convicted. What are your thoughts on that, Amber?
Right. Well, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so it's hard for me to say whether or not those charges are justified. But based on the video, again, he obviously should have been charged with something, and it'll be up to a jury to decide if those are warranted.
You mentioned how the riot was, and the looting was obviously successful. And in those riots and looting, not only was an AutoZone destroyed and a Target and some of these multi-billion-dollar businesses, but almost 200 businesses were burnt down last night, and a lot of those were small businesses. And I would argue that this taking place, without the riots, Derek Chauvin was going to be arrested in custody at some point. I don't know how long that would have taken, but an FBI investigation was already opened up. A DOJ investigation was opened up. I would argue that this sets a poor precedent and makes people think that rioting is okay in moving the needle. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair takeaway from this. And it's important to note, too, that one of the reasons that Trump was apparently slow to send in the National Guard is because members of his administration and his advisors were warning him that if he did this, he would lose support among the Black community. And I don't think that's accurate, because we've seen these videos of young black men who are actually arming themselves in the hopes of protecting these local small businesses. They don't want to see their community burned any more than anyone else does. And so I think it's incumbent upon the president to recognize that fact and protect people who want to be able to live in their city peacefully. They don't want to see things like stores burned down. They don't want to see low-income housing burned down. And that's something that he needs to deal with and be able to push back on his advisors and do the right thing.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Amber Athey from The Spectator. She has been covering this story from day one since this video circulated. Jason Stein, our producer, you have a little bit of information you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, we're going to have to clarify it, but I'm wondering if CNN is kind of conflating third-degree murder and manslaughter. They may be one in the same. I'm not sure. But third-degree murder generally is defined as a homicide committed with the intention of causing bodily harm, but not necessarily death. And usually when you have a first or second degree, there's an intent there. I wanted to kill the person. So yeah. I'm not sure if in this case they're charging him with third degree and manslaughter, or if they're one and the same. But we'll have to figure that out. But generally, we're talking about the absence of malice.
Sure. Well, that's a very serious
or the absence
crime.
of intent, I should say.
Very serious crime. And as Amber said, she wouldn't be surprised if these three other officers were charged with something. But certainly it starts with this officer. Okay, so Amber, now let's talk about reaction. Obviously, I don't condone, and I think it's disgusting what these people are doing with the riots, burning down buildings. The mayor allowing, basically, let's just call it for what it is. The mayor basically said, all right, we don't want anybody else to get hurt or die, so let's just let people burn down the buildings of the precinct and small business. I think it's disgusting. How does this happen? I mean, even in Ferguson, from what I recall, there was rioting and there was looting, but they weren't burning down a bunch of businesses. How does the mayor allow this to happen?
Yeah, well, when you listen to some of the mayor's speeches, it sounds like he's more interested in sharing these woke platitudes than he actually is in taking care of his city. And the only reason that this would be allowed to occur is if either the police were ordered to stand down or for some reason they were not supposed to be stopping these people from going into these stores and causing chaos.
Yeah.
And that's, again, exactly the reason why Trump should be stepping in with the National Guard, because the local leadership here has been so ineffective. This has been a failure of Minnesota law enforcement, really from top to bottom. It starts with the death of George Floyd and the actions of that officer. Then it goes to the DA, taking him so long to arrest and charge this officer. You have the local police apparently not being told to protect businesses or homes from being looted and burned. And then you have state troopers actually going in and arresting CNN reporters instead of focusing on the people who were throwing incendiary
absurd
devices or rocks at police officers.
Exactly.
So the entire thing is just a complete utter chaos. It's utter chaos, and it's clearly a problem, not just of the people who are choosing to riot, but how the city is choosing to respond to it.
It looks like an absolute collapse of Democratic-led leadership, because you could actually add that, Senator Amy Klobuchar, when she was a prosecutor, she declined to press charges against Derek Chauvin and other police officers before any of this happened. Do you think that what has taken place with Fry and Walls and the police department, that this will help Minnesota go red in 2020?
I think it depends really on Trump's reaction, how quickly he's able to get this thing in order, and what his reaction to the police brutality is, because this is something where Trump needs to, and I just wrote about this in The Spectator, this is something where Trump needs to demonstrate that he's still the law and order president that he promised he would be when he was running back in 2015. And law and order does not mean just enforcing order, such as sending the National Guard in and quashing these riots, but it also means making sure that the law applies equally and justly to every American. So when we're constantly seeing things like what happened with this officer in Minneapolis, there needs to be some type of administrative recognition of police brutality and what exactly this country can do to ensure this type of thing isn't happening as often as we see it.
No question. Amber, you do a great job with The Spectator. Always appreciate it when you take some time to join us. Keep up the great work. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Stay safe, and thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks a lot, Amber.
Amber does a great job. I really enjoy having her on. Amber Athey from The Spectator. So we're following.
She is an up-and-coming reporter in the country, in my opinion. She's one of the best.
Well, hopefully she doesn't get arrested if she goes to Minneapolis, like CNN did. But if you're just joining us, we're following the breaking news. First, we had learned that George Floyd's death. We have the officer who put his knee over George Floyd's neck has been arrested, and then we were saying it's just a matter of time before we figure out what the charges are. Well, now we know what those charges are. We just had the county prosecutor do a press conference. Third-degree murder, manslaughter. Now, this is very important. Why is this very important? They could have charged him with involuntary manslaughter. I'm not saying I would have agreed with that, but they could have. They didn't. They went for the murder charge, and I think it's appropriate here. This also leads me to believe, while those three officers probably will not be charged with third-degree murder, they're probably going to be charged with something. This is a very serious charge, and I think it is an appropriate charge. And I want to ask the listeners out there right now, what do you think about this? Your reaction to the fact that this police officer was not only arrested, but charged with third-degree murder. I want to give out the phone number, and I want to get your reaction to that. Those of you that are listening, do you think that was warranted? Do you think it should have been first-degree murder? 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-257-5396. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in 60 seconds. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn.
So now I've got this pack of 4 Shar-Pei rescue dogs, Jimmy, Coco, another Shar-Pei, and one pug who is Joe. I have stuck with the Dinovite for, oh my goodness, probably 5-6 years.
No, that's good that people are engaged.
People remark on really how well my dogs look, what beautiful coats they've got. I tell them, yep, they get a regular diet of Dinovite with every meal.
Dinovite is nutrition.
All I have to do is say dog food. It's a pandemonium. They can be half asleep, and they're up and thrilled.
Just look at that bowl squeaky clean.
You don't need to wait until a problem presents itself. It's far better to keep the dog happy and healthy at all times. Dinovite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be. People do ask how they get Dinovite. I tell them I get my Dinovite from DINOVITE.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. K-Dog.
We have Rappaport. Maybe
All right, welcome back. The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, some very funny Michael Rappaport audio. He's not a Trump supporter, and now he's going after Tommy Lauren, and it's extremely funny, by the way.
He is so washed up, Brian.
Okay, well, you probably don't like his politics, and that's why you would say that.
Nothing to do with his politics at all.
Okay, well, he's not washed up. He's made a lot of money. He's a pretty good actor, and he does a really good podcast, so I completely disagree with you. He's not washed up, so I will totally disagree with you on that one. He's doing very well, and he still has a pretty darn good career, and he does have a lot of followers, and I know you're obsessed with followers and his following. He has a huge following. So washed up means he doesn't have much of a following. He does. Number to call, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. We're covering the breaking news. This officer in the George Floyd case who put his knee over Floyd's neck and killed him, murdered him. He's now been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. I think it's just a matter of time before the other officers get charged with something. We're getting your thoughts on that. What do you think about this arrest? Do you think it was too quick? Do you think it's an overreaction? Do you think it's an underreaction? We want to hear what you have to say. Let's start off with Assad. Assad, you're first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Assad?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Earlier, I think they still went. Honestly, it's degree murder because that was clearly intent to kill. The man was to get off of his neck, telling him that he couldn't breathe. And we can see in the video that, you know, the officer clenched down harder on his neck.
Yeah, I agree with you, but what I am happy about is the fact that this man is in custody right now, and I don't think he's getting out anytime soon. He's now behind bars, and he is going to have some time to think about what he did to this innocent young man. Assad, I appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. I think this is a start in the right direction for justice. Now, I hate the word justice because George Floyd lost his life. He's going to be 6 feet underneath the ground if he isn't already. George Floyd is dead. Okay, these officers, they still have families and kids, and the kids and the families are still going to be able to see them, even though it might be behind bars. That's not justice. 257-5396. Let's go to Joe. Joe, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Joe?
He doesn't want to be on. No, Joe. Brady.
Uh-oh, we lost Joe. Okay, 257-5396 is the number to call. Why would you call into a radio station to speak to our producer and not want to go on the air?
Sean, for those of you who couldn't hear, Sean, our associate producer back at the building, said Joe called, but he didn't want to go on.
Yeah, again, if you pick up your phone and you want to call into a show and you just want to speak to our producer, but you don't want to be on the air, don't bother our producer. Don't call in. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Brady?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Hey, Brian, I have to ask you, what group are you a member of, the Antifa or the Black Lives Matter?
I'm not a member of each. Do you have another question you'd like to ask?
You sure like to defend those?
I just answered, excuse me, I just answered your stupid question. Now, do you have anything that you'd like to say that is reasonable that you'd like to discuss?
I had to agree 100% with Trump.
Of course you do. Shoot the goddamn looters. Okay. All right, let's change the subject. I understand you want every African-American shot dead. I understand, Brady.
Hey, again, Brian, there are looters of all races. Stop being racist and assuming
you're right.
that all
I'm
the
a
looters.
racist, but Brady is.
You are. When you do that, you are being racist,
and
Brian.
you're being ignorant when you make that.
Not at all.
Brady, I have a question for you. Okay, I'm not even going to.
There's thugs of all races.
I'm not even going to respond to what you just said. Brady. Okay, Brady, I have a question for you. We made a bet 6 months ago. You said that Adam Schiff would be in jail. It was a $100 verbal bet on our show. The time is up. Are you willing to pay that debt?
June 1st, Brian.
Okay, so on June 1st, if you lose the bet, and by the way, I'm not sure how Adam Schiff will be in jail within the next several days. I don't understand how that...
Not even several. It's
so Brady,
today's the 29th.
Brady, will you be mailing me? Are you a man of your word? And will you be mailing me a check when I win the bet on June 1st?
No, because you said I get to come on the show for that.
I never said you get to come on the show. You are a coward and a liar. You know that's not true. You are an idiot. I would never invite you on our show in person. We made a bet. You have to pay $100, and if you don't, I'm not going to take your call ever again. What do you think about that?
What do you think about I come down on
All right, goodbye, loser. Goodbye. See, I think we just learned the character of Brady. Brady is an idiot and a loser. He's not only a racist.
We just learned the character of Brady?
Well, yeah, that's true. But we made a $100 verbal bet on the air. Now he's not going to pay it because he's a moron. I'll make another $100.
You know what? Honestly, I think he will pay the bet because
he's not.
He really, Brian.
I'll tell you what, Brady.
He's called into our show every day.
Okay, I'll make another
a year and a half.
I'll make another bet with Brady. Double or nothing, Brady. I bet
Small price to pay.
Double or nothing, Brady. I'll make another bet with you. I bet your IQ isn't over 25.
Well, you remember yesterday, Brady claimed that there was such a thing as a looting gene. Yeah, that was inherent in black people.
You know, here's the crazy thing. Brady will call into some other radio shows. You know, I don't know what shows, but I'm just giving a hypothetical. Brady might call into another show, and he might say,
a robbing gene.
Yeah, kill all the looters, and then a host might agree with him. That's the difference between what we do and what other shows do. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to L. L, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, L?
Hello, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
Have you seen the picture of this gentleman? Well, I don't want to call him a gentleman. He's anything, but the person who's been arrested, this officer, he was pictured with your president, Donald Trump, in a red shirt that said "Cops for Trump." And this was probably at one of the recent rallies.
You know what, El? I'm glad you brought that up, El. Hang on the line for a second. Why can't the president of the United States disavow this man? Why can't the president speak out against this man who has now been charged with murder?
Well, I'm sure once he sees... Actually, he has spoken out against this man multiple times,
No, he
Brian.
hasn't.
Yes,
Not
he
true.
has.
Not true.
He said it was horrible what took place with George Floyd.
Not true.
Yes, he had.
That's
why because the gentleman hadn't been arrested yet. But he expedited the investigation because of the situation.
Okay, so
come on, Brian.
We'll see what happens.
No, come on.
Go ahead, El. Let's let El respond.
You're getting mad at him for not doing something that you don't know if he's going to do it or not.
Let's let the caller.
I think he will disavow this guy.
Let's let El respond. Go ahead, El.
JD, 1 second. The reason he's not going to speak out against him, I heard somebody ask him, should this officer be arrested? He said, I don't know. We got to wait to see. But this is his base. How many times do we have to see these people pop up the one in Atlanta. Trump rallies. And this is his. My mother always told me, if you show me your company, I'm going to tell you who you are. We see this man. There's no denying it. JB can't defend it. And you guys have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend, too.
Thank you all.
And no, this is not his base. 99.99999% of the country thinks that George Floyd was murdered by this police officer. Very few people, you might be able to find a couple that actually, out of 100 million, that actually back what this police officer did. This is not his base. This is right and wrong. This isn't right and left. Well, there is a major difference here. This is a clear-cut crime.
I wonder.
A clear-cut murder, whether it's first, second, or third degree. I would actually argue you could say it's first degree because they worked together in the same club for 17 years. Okay, so you could say that this might be a premeditated murder.
I want to get to some more calls, but I wonder those people that were wearing the Trump paraphernalia with guns that were trying to storm the Capitol in Michigan that are Trump supporters.
In an open carry state.
If I could just finish my statement. I wonder if those people are against what this officer did. Boy, I really wonder that. David Duke, a man who supported Donald Trump in his campaign, who still supports Donald Trump. I wonder how David Duke feels about this slaying or this murder. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Marge. Marge, you're next up on the Vegas Take. Marge, are you there?
I'm here.
Thank you, Marge. What's on your mind?
I think that as far as, and JD just mentioned this, I think there might have been some bad blood between the two men because they were both bouncers at this club. You know, for 17 years, they certainly knew each other. And maybe there was some grudge or something that was going on, you know, a long time coming or whatever, and he took advantage of it. But the other part about this is the charges that were brought up. That third-degree murder is very important because that means that you're going to cause bodily harm, but not necessarily, you know, killing someone. So they had to be extremely careful in how the evidence presented itself versus those charges.
Yeah, that's a good point.
First degree or whatever, they
Right.
probably wouldn't win. And that's why some of these other cases that we've seen around the country, they rush in with the charges, they don't get it right, and then the person gets off scot-free. And
True.
The fact that this officer
George Zimmerman, two words, George Zimmerman. There's a perfect example of what you're talking about. Marge, I also want to add this. The prosecutor said that there could be more charges coming. He wasn't specific, though. That could mean there's more charges coming with maybe the three officers, or it could mean there's more charges coming with this officer. Here's what I think he meant. I think he was talking about the three officers.
I do as well.
No, well, I think not only that, I think they might still look at his record and see if they can do anything that way, you know, because he's somehow escaped a lot of disciplinary action or whatever. The other officers, again, I think they're looking at how did they contribute to the situation and what can they charge them with and really make it stick because I think
Sure.
they understand the significance of they're going to be viewed nationally, if not worldwide.
Yeah.
And they better get this one right.
I agree, Marge. Really good phone call, and we're going to have to wait and see how this. I think we all agree, though, Marge, is that this is a good thing that this officer was finally arrested. But the problem that I have is why didn't this happen a few days ago? Why did it take this long?
By the way, Brian, Donald Trump just made a tweet. Looting leads to shooting, and that's why a man was shot and killed. This happened 8 minutes ago. And it's shot and killed in Minneapolis on Wednesday night. Or look at what just happened in Louisville with 7 people shot. I don't want this to happen, and that's what the expression put out last night means.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot because the expression was back in '67.
And there's more to it.
Now he's cleaning it up.
There's more to it.
We got to take a break.
It was spoken as a fact, not as a statement. It's very simple. Nobody should have any problem with this other than the haters and those looking to cause trouble on social media. Honor the memory of George Floyd! Exclamation mark.
Okay, we need to continue to talk about this on the other side. We don't have enough time to talk about it now. I'll take more of your phone calls on the other side at 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. Yeah, we need more time to be able to do something like that.
Bring it back up on the other side.
Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis police
Just
officer
drop the bomb,
was on
yeah.
video.
No, it's
kneeling on the
important.
neck
It's
of
important to
non-black
mention
man
that.
who's been arrested
If he
today.
just, tweeted
Some
8 minutes ago,
criminal
Yeah, it's clean up.
and we're talking about that. So
He should have tweeted that out last night. He didn't. He's cleaning up for his stupidity.
Well, he always does that, like we did with injecting chloroquine when he said, I was being sarcastic to see what you guys
Right.
were
This is
doing.
cleanup. That's a perfect example of what Stein just said.
You're assuming that there was a correlation from what the man police officers or the police chief said. There isn't. They use the same terminology. Doesn't
doesn't mean that he's a racist like that guy was.
No, I have about 30 other instances to prove he's racist.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison
I
says
have 30
justice
other
will be
instances
served in the
that clearly
case.
prove he's racist.
Okay, but what about the
People
point that
can
he's
read them
raised,
again.
that his daughter raised with a small business?
His daughter has nothing to do
What
with
about
him.
the fact that he's
His
hired
daughter
a lot
is
of
a different
minorities
person.
over the course of his life?
His daughter
and
is
that
a-
unemployment under Donald Trump is a lot lower now under
You asked me a question.
than it was over Barack Obama.
You're asking me
I mean, like,
3 or 4
would
different
a
questions.
racist hang out
It's
with
time
Diamond
to
and
check
Silk?
the
I don't think so.
Uh-huh. He's my president. Uh-huh.
Sponsored by D.R. Horton. An accident on the Western Beltway
I don't
northbound at
know if
Tropicana at the on-ramp. Vehicles remain off to the right, not blocking the through lanes. Watch for precautionary slowing. Also, road work continues I-15 southbound at St. Rose Parkway with a right lane restriction, and the on-ramp is closed until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Discover the luxury of Adeline Manor, a new home community by D.R. Horton. Visit drhorton.com to schedule a private in-person or video tour today. D.R. Horton, America's builder and equal housing opportunity builder. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
The best choice for cleaning and sanitizing? Hazmat Nation. If you work in a casino, hotel, restaurant, anywhere where locals and visitors may shop or do business, then tell your boss or employer to call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352. Hazmat Nation will send their Top Gun field crew to clean and sanitize every inch from top to bottom with the top technicians and safety officers. Since 2011, Hazmat Nation has been servicing many of the world's top airlines, arenas, hotels, and hospitality venues of every kind, following strict CDC and EPA guidelines. Hazmat Nation gets it done right the first time. Call Hazmat Nation at 702-730-0352. When they come out to do a free estimate, they'll send along a gallon of CDC EPA-approved hand sanitizer just to say thanks. And they can keep delivering it to you anytime you need it at everyday low-volume discounted prices. Call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352 or go online to hazmatnation.com.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. A lot of lawyers promise a lot of things. No fee unless we win. The consults are free. Of course they offer that stuff. All lawyers do that. But will they promise not to take more money than you at the end of your case? No. When you call me, that answer's yes. I'll never take more money than you, and I put it in writing.
Call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
Parents, stop making excuses for your children and do something to help them for the rest of their lives. Sign up at Infinity the Math Institute for the best math tutoring in the country, the best online math tutoring in the world. We help struggling students excel and help successful students get to the next level. We are also here for parents, offering free seminars explaining what your students are learning, why it seems different from what you learned, and how you can help your child do better. We also offer super affordable SAT prep classes on Fridays before our super popular Friday Fun Nights, where students and parents meet like-minded and driven families in a fun and constructive atmosphere. Coming to Infinity will be the best decision you've ever made for your child. Call 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com and tell them the Vegas Take sent you for a free assessment. That's 702-768-1777, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
Savvy.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We got some very funny Michael Rappaport audio we will play for you in just a few, but we're covering the breaking news, of course. One of those 4 police officers, the officer that put his knee over George Floyd's neck, has now officially been arrested and charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. I think it is probably appropriate. I don't know if I would have been okay with first-degree murder. I wouldn't have felt bad for the guy, but there has to be some premeditation there and that he knew what he was doing and he was trying to kill the guy. I'm not sure he was trying to kill the guy, but I look at it more as, listen, don't get me wrong. I do believe that there was race involved. There's no question about that. I look at it a little bit like a drunk driver. You know, you get into a car, you're not necessarily trying to kill somebody, but it's because of your stupidity and your behavior that somebody could be killed. I think this is the same type of situation, and yes, I do think race was involved. Go ahead,
And
Stein.
just to clarify, yes, it is murder and manslaughter. And so I'm wondering if this is the kind of situation where they're going to kind of like let a jury decide. You know, 'cause you could charge him with multiple
Not
things.
involuntary, though.
Yeah, not involuntary.
So this is not like
murder
DUI.
and manslaughter. So I guess would be like the kind of thing
Well,
where
also,
a jury will have a choice.
if you charge him with murder, then you can possibly charge the other 3 officers with accessory to murder. When
you can charge accessory to manslaughter.
When you add you could charge them with involuntary manslaughter, but you could now charge those officers with accessory to murder. I think that's part of the reason
other
why.
ones, yeah.
Yes, I think that's part of the reason why the murder charge was actually brought up. But I believe that if these two knew each other for 17 years, or if there was bad blood and there's some documentation of that, you could make that argument for first-degree murder.
We'll learn that in the trial.
We don't
absolutely
know. We don't know yet. But
just to be clear, you could still charge these 3 officers with an accessory. Even it doesn't have to be first-degree murder. That's what the law says. So we'll have to wait and see.
the DA says, and this happened within the last hours, the DA says he had never charged a case this quickly before.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that the riots put a lot of pressure on him.
All right, let's take some more phone
Which
calls.
is not a good thing. That is a bad thing, because this was going to happen no matter what.
If it's the right thing to do to charge somebody with a crime, then I have no problem with that. I have a problem with the rioters, and I have a problem with people breaking the law. I don't have a problem with them doing what they should have done, which was arrest this guy. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. We're following this breaking news, and we're taking your phone calls. Let's start off with Wayne now. Wayne, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, you guys. I got kind of feelings on the subject that says those 2 guys, including the cop and the black guy, George, kind of took something out of bounds, and it paid a pretty price. And I'm from Minnesota, and Minnesota ain't normally like that, but there was an incident back in the 80s, and I'm going to choose my words wisely. Happened around the IDS building. It's a big skyscraper, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't even sane. And stuff like this, people can only tolerate so much. I think the people in Minnesota need to grow up. The people rioting and stuff, you're a moron. You don't realize how destructive you really are. And I've said my piece.
Well, I agree with you, and I appreciate the call, Wayne. As you know, I have called names to those people that are rioting, that are burning down buildings. They're buffoons, they're idiots, they're criminals, and I hope they're all charged, quite frankly. Just because you're angry about oppression and this death of George Floyd, which is awful, I get your anger, but that doesn't give you the right to break the law and hurt innocent people. That's what these dummies don't understand. They're hurting innocent people that had absolutely nothing to do with this George Floyd death. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Tim. Tim, you're next up on the Vegas Take. Tim, are you there? Did we lose Tim?
He's good.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, hey, man. So I was curious, the show, are you guys supposed to be equal co-hosts, or is Sharp your sidekick?
Is this show supposed to be equal,
Tim,
or is JD your sidekick? I'm trying to figure out how I would answer that question. In most shows, there's the lead host, someone who gets you in and out of breaks. That's Radio 101, somebody that sets up the subject, somebody that sets up the guest, somebody that sets up the topic, somebody that asked for phone calls. That would be me. JD is still my co-host. Does that make sense?
I just, in today in particular, I'm agreeing with JD, and I don't get to hear much of it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
He was in the bathroom for a while.
Yeah, he does take a crap about 3 times a show, and he showed up 15 minutes late.
That wasn't that long.
And he showed up 15 minutes late.
I did show up about halfway through the first segment.
Yeah, so, that might have had something to do with it, but guess what?
No, but I've spoken quite a bit on the show today, I believe.
So you have a chance, an opportunity to speak to JD. Now, I would imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I'd hate to make an assumption about you, sir, but I'm imagining you don't agree with some of my opinions, so you just want to have a conversation with somebody that agrees with you all the time. I'm somebody that will probably disagree with you, so I would totally understand why you wouldn't want to have a conversation with me, because I'd probably destroy you.
He is trying to psychologically dismantle you into not wanting to talk to me, but wanting to talk to him.
Nope, sir.
Because he has an issue when people want to talk to me as the lead host, that King Brian.
Yes. King Brian. King Brian. No. Hold on. I'll give you a chance to talk. Hold on a second. I'm going to say one more comment. I am going to give you an opportunity now to speak to someone, and you can have a very lovely love relationship.
No, see, now,
hold on, if I can finish.
Now he's downplaying everything.
JD, If you could let me talk for 20 seconds.
Just because someone wants to talk to me,
I don't have a problem with that.
Maybe give me a compliment. Maybe say, hey,
I don't have a problem
I
with
appreciate
that.
your
Okay,
opinion because I'm a small business owner. That's fine.
Okay.
But the problem is it's not about you at that point.
Okay, so if you could let me talk for 20 seconds.
But you like to make it about you because you say, well, if you want to talk to him, that means that you don't want to debate me because you must not want a combative experience.
All right, are you done now? So I'm going to try to get you guys to talk again if you'll let me talk for 20 seconds. Sir, I know
proving this guy's point.
You and JD can have a lovely conversation and agree on everything. It can be all butterflies. I'm sure it'll be great radio. I can't wait to hear this conversation. You and JD, I'm staying out of it. Go.
Yeah, let's see how long that lasts. But
About as long as you last in the sack with your wife.
Yeah, now keep in mind that when Brian gets a call, when someone agrees with him, he goes, I could not agree with you more. Thank you so much for that call. That happens probably 7 times a show.
All right, sir. You've already tried to blow it by insulting me, but I'm letting you have a conversation.
But now, when that happens to me, it's suddenly an issue.
Go ahead.
That is the definition of hypocrisy.
So, sir,
I'm ready, sir. Let's roll.
JD, are you done now? Okay. Sir, I'm going to give you another opportunity, even though you tried to insult me at the beginning. I will give you another opportunity to have a bright, lovely, he hung up the phone. What a shocker. What a dope.
I still don't know what that guy wanted.
I don't know either.
Because you didn't really let him I think he was implying that, you are somehow rude to JD and don't let him speak, or I don't know.
Well, sir, honestly, for anybody who wants to really understand that, Brian is the lead host, and it's probably 54-46 as far as the who talks more. I would say Brian talks a little bit more than I do, but when this show first started, it was like 90-10. So it's been a big change.
All right, well, sir, we gave you the opportunity. You blew it. So thank you. Have a very, very, very nice day. And as far as not giving you any time, I gave you 2 opportunities, and then in the first opportunity, you insulted me, and then the second opportunity, you hung up the phone because you're a coward. Number to call, 702-257-5396. I want to bring this up because I think this is very funny, and I'm a big fan of Michael Rappaport. I think he's very funny. If you watch some of his videos on Twitter, they're hilarious. Newsflash, he's not really a Trump supporter. So Tomi Lahren, who has been on this show before, who I think is a smart woman, but I think she just says things to get a rise out of people, and I don't think she believes some of the stuff she says. She tweeted out some stuff criticizing the looters and the rioters, calling them names. She said, welcome to 2020, where it's racist to criticize looters, burning, and rioting. I'm one of those people that have criticized the looters and the rioters and the burners and the people burning down buildings and stuff for the last several days. Nobody's called me a racist, so I have absolutely no idea what she's talking about. I think she's just trying to get a rise out of people. With that being said, Michael Rappaport.
I can tell you she isn't.
Okay, well, Michael Rappaport.
People are calling it white privilege.
Okay.
If you are condemning the riots.
Okay. Well, I don't know who said that. It could be any idiot.
I had about 20 different people on my personal social media tell me that personally.
Well, you just told me one person told you that. Now 1 to 20.
Yeah, no, a lot of people did, but this is one particular
that.
I could go through and if you want to spend 10 minutes, I could go through every single one of them.
So name me one prominent person, whether it be a politician or a celebrity or somebody on television or somebody that does a radio show, that is calling anybody a racist for criticizing people who are looting. Can you name me? Because I'm not going to talk about trolls on social media. Who gives a flying F what they say? I'm talking about prominent people that actually matter. Can you name me one person that has called anybody, a racist? One person.
Again, I wasn't talking about prominent people,
Okay,
Brian.
well, I am. And there are
fine.
people on social media that say ridiculous things millions of times.
There are a lot of people on social media right now that are saying that if you have a problem with these riots, then you are exhibiting white privilege.
So I don't care.
And that is just not the case at all.
Well, I don't care what social media trolls that are not relevant say.
I'm not talking about trolls, Brian. I'm talking about militant people on various forums, on various platforms of social media. And there's a lot of them.
So what?
And so that's I'm sure Tommy is seeing the exact same thing on those various platforms.
If somebody had called me a racist because I'm criticizing the looters, somebody who is a nobody, who's a troll on social media, I would say, go F yourself. I would block them, and I wouldn't correlate that to generalizing as people, calling people racist because they're criticizing looters. I've done that. Nobody's called me a racist on this show. Nobody's called me a racist on social media. Tomi Lahren is just saying something because she wants to get a rise out of people, and Michael Rappaport is on my side. This is the audio of Michael Rappaport.
That's very important.
This is the audio of Michael Rappaport.
Dickie McWilliams. I love his opinions.
Michael Rappaport is a little bit more relevant than some of the trolls on social media that are calling you allegedly a racist, okay? He has a huge following.
not me personally, but anyone who doesn't condone riots.
So let me rephrase what I just said. Michael Rappaport is a lot more relevant than some generic tool on social media who is calling people racist for going after looting. So I want to hear what Michael Rappaport has to say, because I think he's a little bit more relevant than some troll on social media. Michael Rappaport, what do you think about Tommy Lauren and these people that are, criticizing the looters and the rioters? Michael, what do you have to say about this?
I'm so upset about the looting. That offends you. That offends you more than the gentleman being killed in broad daylight by police officers who know they're being filmed. If you catch me with my finger up my nose, I'm like, because I don't want to be filmed like that. You choose to keep doing what you're doing casually and calmly while you see yourself being filmed. Motherfuckers are offended by the looting. That upsets you. There ain't no playbook on how to protest. There ain't no playbook on how to riot. There ain't no classes on that. There are classes and playbooks on how to be an officer, how to be a police officer. And not in any of those playbooks or those classes do they say put your knee and kneel on the guy's neck until you kill him. You're offended by the looting. F you. Offended by you. You fucking dog, you.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's funny. It's funny. And I'm a fan of Michael Rappaport. I think he's a funny guy. JD, you don't like that? You don't think that was funny at all in any way, shape, or form? You have this blank look on your face.
How is that funny, Brian, at all?
Well, I don't know. I think it's...
First of all, protesting is a right. Looting and rioting is a mother effing crime, Mr. Michael Rappaport. There is a playbook. One is a right, a constitutional right, and one is a crime. There is a difference, Mr. Mother effing Rappaport. It's not complicated.
I think it's funny, though.
What's funny about that?
It's funny how upset you are by that.
It's ridiculous. That's completely insane.
Well, here's what I would say to that. For those of you that are angry at that audio, that are upset, I hope you could show the same anger at police brutality towards minorities. I do. I hope. And, I really do. And, by the way, Tommy Lauren says ridiculous things on a regular basis. Go on Tommy Lauren's social media and see if she's really empathizing with the George Floyd family. Go on Tommy Lauren's social media and see if she's constantly talking about police brutality and the way they treat minorities. The answer is no. She doesn't do that because she does what many on the right do. They avoid racial issues and they want to criticize the looters. Now, that's okay if you want, in all seriousness. I've criticized the looters, the rioters, the people who are burning buildings. I've done that. But you know what else I've done? I've criticized the police officers tremendously, and that's where my anger starts. Tommy Lauren is decided on her social media page to focus on the looters and the rioters. Now, I have a serious problem with that, and I believe that's where Michael Rappaport was coming from. It's okay to criticize the looters and the rioters. You're not a racist for doing that. You know why? Because I'm not a racist, and I've done it. Hey, but the point I'm trying to make is you need to know where this started from.
And your point doesn't make any sense unless you've scrolled through her entire Twitter page.
Have you?
Have you?
Yes, the last couple days.
Okay, and she hasn't made one statement about George Floyd.
Here's what she did.
And how wrong that was.
Here's what she
and
did.
how these police officers should be charged.
So, would you like me to answer?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, so she said that it was wrong and that George Floyd deserved justice. Hold on. That was one tweet.
Okay.
And then...
What else was she supposed to do, Brian?
I'm going to finish answering your question. She had that one tweet, and then she has about a dozen tweets criticizing the looters and the rioters. Now, don't you understand where anybody would come from when they say, okay, if you want to put out a dozen tweets and criticize the looters, that's okay, but just one tweet talking about George Floyd? Do you think that's appropriate?
What was she supposed to say besides that, Brian?
Okay, I'll answer your question because I don't think you understand what
I totally get what you're saying.
Give me a few other tweets empathizing with police brutality. And then if you want to criticize the looters as well, I've got no problem with that. I've done that same thing. As you know, I haven't defended any of the looters. In fact, I've called them buffoons. I've called them idiots. I've called them criminals. But you know where my anger starts with? that police officer, those police officers.
And that police officer has been charged with third-degree murder, Brian.
Irrelevant to what I'm talking about.
That police department has lost a major contract with the University of Minnesota.
That is irrelevant.
They're losing revenue left and right.
No sense.
How is that making no sense, Brian?
I'll answer that
because it's not following the direction that you would like the conversation to go. It is making sense.
Ask me a question?
It is making sense.
So I'll answer what you just said. How does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
How does that not make sense?
I'll repeat it again. If you're one of those people that puts out one tweet saying thoughts and prayers, well, don't oh my God me. If you're one of those people that puts out one tweet, thoughts and prayers, and let me finish, please. If you're one of those people that puts out one tweet, thoughts and prayers for the George Floyd, family. This was a brutal video to watch. I hope he gets justice. And then the next 12 tweets are criticizing the looters and the rioters. I have a serious problem.
And again, does she repeat the same thing over and over in those 12 tweets?
No, here's what you do.
No. I don't care.
Was
Brian.
that a question? Well,
no, it's not. It's not a question.
You don't care.
It is not a question.
Well, you just answered it for me.
No,
you don't care.
No, it is not a question.
All right, so if you don't care, we can move on.
What she is doing, most likely, is she is making, because it's a very fluid situation with the looting and the rioting, and she is making tweets about I'm sure one was about the National Guard. I'm sure one was about the AutoZone being burned down. I'm sure one was chronologically describing what was taking place. The George Floyd murder already happened. She'll make a tweet about the officer being charged, I'm sure.
She made.
You have to understand that this situation has gone on for 2 days, and various things have taken place.
Okay.
There have been various levels of rioting, and it started as a protest and it evolved into a riot. So I don't have a problem with Tommy Lauren updating her base on what is taking place, along with her opinion on what happened.
So let me
because
respond.
the George Floyd situation, that happened one time. He is dead. That officer's life is over. Those two officers will never be cops again, and the entire Minneapolis Police Department is going to be looked at and vetted.
Irrelevant.
And hopefully structural changes will take place. No, that's not irrelevant. That's the whole goal. The whole goal is to prevent or lower police brutality.
So irrelevant.
And that police department this is a pattern of behavior in that particular police department.
If you give me 30 to 45 seconds, I'll try to explain for a third time what I am talking about. On Tommy Lauren's Twitter page, she's calling the protesters thugs, taking a page from the Donald Trump playbook. She's talking about businesses. She's talking about how much money these looters have costed people. She's talking about the protesters. She's going on and on. Then she's talking about mail-in voting. She's going on and on talking about the looters and the financial side of this. What Tommy Lauren does fail to do, and what many on the right fail to do, quite frankly, who are white, are fail to talk about the problems and the issues facing minorities and law enforcement and the racial tensions in this country. She put out one tweet, and then she's calling the protesters thugs. She didn't call the police officers thugs. She didn't call the police officers murderers, but yet she wants to attack the protesters and the rioters. Now, again, if you want to attack them, I have no problem with that because I've done the same thing. But the point I'm trying to make is it's one tweet saying thoughts and prayers with the George Floyd family, and yet she wants to call people thugs and she wants to go after the rioters. I have a serious problem with that, and I find it very troubling that for the third time I've tried to explain myself to you, and you still don't understand, and your excuse is, well, the officer's been charged. It doesn't matter. He could get the electric chair tomorrow. The point I'm trying to make is she is not showing the amount of empathy she should be showing towards this family and towards police brutality, yet her objective today and yesterday is to constantly talk about the rioters and the protesters, but the real issue here, the real issue that started this whole thing, it started everything, is the relationship and the way law enforcement treats minorities in this country.
No, in that particular city, Brian, it is worse with that police department than almost anywhere in the country.
Incorrect.
No,
you're wrong.
It's not. I'm not wrong.
No, you're wrong.
They police officers in Minneapolis kill African Americans at a 13 times higher rate than they do Caucasians.
We're not just talking about killing. Okay.
There have been several complaints that were unnoticed.
We're talking about mistreatment.
by Amy Klobuchar, the death of Philando Castile.
I know you want to bring up Amy Klobuchar a lot.
But yeah, I do, and you don't want to because she's Democratic.
I don't support Amy Klobuchar, so you have no idea what you're talking about. I've never supported Amy Klobuchar, so that's an ignorant statement.
So why is it a problem that I bring her up? Because had she...
If you want to attack Democrats, you never attack any Republicans. That's why.
I attack Republicans all the time.
When was the last time you attacked a Republican on this show?
Before COVID, for sure. Not since COVID, obviously.
Who and when?
But before COVID.
So you haven't attacked a Republican in 4 months, and you're telling me you attack Republicans?
What is there to attack Republicans about during COVID?
What I do every day.
No.
I attack both sides.
That's because you're incredibly biased.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So what did I do?
You are.
Really?
exceptionally biased,
Okay,
and that's
fair.
fine.
Okay, hold on a second.
And that's
No,
fine.
no, you're wrong.
But Amy
You're wrong.
Klobuchar,
Hold on a second. What you just said
she
is wrong.
could
I
have
need to defend
prevented
myself.
this particular death from taking
you
place.
just said is
had
wrong.
she gone out of her way to prosecute Derek Chauvin and other police officers that were involved in officer-related deaths in Minneapolis, and she did not do that.
So if I could respond to what you just said.
Tim Walz is a Democrat.
You gotta let me respond now. You just attacked
Jacob Fry is a Democrat.
Are you done so I can respond to your
I'm just saying,
ridiculous comments?
there has been a total.
Let me know when you're done. I'll wait.
Collapse of Democratic leadership in not just Minnesota, the state, but not just Minneapolis, the city, but also Minnesota, the entire state. But yeah, please continue.
Do I have 45 seconds before you interrupt me?
Brian?
Then? Okay,
Brian, you always have 45 seconds.
Okay, can I speak now?
Of course.
Thank you. You just said you attack Republicans all the time. You couldn't name any Republican you've attacked since before COVID. So in the last 3 or 4, let me finish.
We've had a lot of conversations, Brian.
5 seconds I talk and he interrupts me again. Can I have 45 seconds, please? Thank you. I'll start over now. You just said you attack Republicans all the time. You just said you haven't attacked a Republican since before the COVID, and you didn't name one, by the way. But with that being said, it's been 3 or 4 months since you attacked a Republican. Just today alone, I've attacked the mayor in Minneapolis. I called him a fool for the way he's handled this whole situation. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Calling someone a name doesn't do anything.
That's
You're
an
aware of
attack.
that, right?
Okay, I'm not
it
done
doesn't
yet.
accomplish
Okay,
anything.
interrupting.
Insulting somebody does nothing.
Okay, so you
But
gave me. I appreciate the 20 seconds you gave me, but would you like me to start over? I attack Democrats on a regular basis. I attacked Horsford for a week. He's a Democrat. I am not a supporter of Nancy Pelosi. I am not a supporter of Chuck Schumer, and I attack Democrats when it is warranted. That is not bias. Now, you want to call me biased all you want because I don't like Donald Trump. Go ahead. Join the club because I don't give a crap. But I say what I feel. I am not a member of the Democratic Party. I never will be, quite frankly. I'm an independent. And every single day, I am critical of Democrats. I can give you an example every day. I just gave you an example today. So you can't go on the air and say you attack Republicans all the time when the last time you claimed that you attacked a Republican was before COVID, which was 3 or 4 months ago.
Again, we've had a lot of conversation, do this every single day for 3 hours a day. We have not really talked about any Republicans besides Donald Trump since COVID started.
It's not true.
Who else have we talked about? Mitch McConnell?
I talk about Mitch McConnell all the time. I talk about Rand Paul all the time.
I think we talked about McConnell once. I actually did attack. I didn't attack, but I disagreed with Rand Paul. And again, attacking and disagreeing, do you think they're the same thing? They're not. You insult someone, I may disagree with them.
Name me a Republican you disagree with.
So really attack. Well, I mean Rand Paul on multiple occasions.
When have we talked about Rand Paul?
When he decided to go to the gym after he was
so 2 months ago.
But we don't have a lot of conversations about a lot of different Republicans outside of Donald Trump during this COVID time.
Listen, you called me biased, and I just gave you examples of Democrats that I've gone after.
You literally got angry with me for bringing up Amy Klobuchar because she is a Democrat.
Well, because you brought her up 8 times in this
because it's a big deal.
It has nothing to do with what we were just talking
about. Had Amy Klobuchar actually pursued charges against Derek Chauvin and other police officers, none of this would be happening.
Well, I think if Donald Trump pursued the
how could you not?
Okay, we got to take a break.
Well, he could have been acquitted and back on the street.
I suppose that's possible. Yeah, that could have taken place.
But you know, going back to what you said, and we only have about 30 seconds. If Donald Trump, if you want to talk about pursuance, if Donald Trump
he wouldn't have been as cavalier.
If Donald Trump has pursued COVID-19 off the bat like he should have, then maybe we wouldn't have 100,000 people dead. If you want to talk about pursuance, but we got to go. It's been a great show, everybody. I hope everybody has a safe weekend. Please be safe.
Phase 2.
Phase 2, baby. Casinos are going to be open up soon, so we're looking forward to that. Sean Hannity is coming up next, folks. Check us out on Twitter at The Vegas Take. Have a fantastic weekend.